Part 3 of the Decade of Wolves podcast.
Full shizzle.
So yeah, we're doing this because next year, very, very imminently, it will be 10 years of We Came From Wolves, and we're just speaking to the people who have made that happen. Andy, thanks for joining us, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I don't want to take liberties by telling you how you feel, but I sometimes think when we talk about things, it seems like, you know, the first lineup and the White Brothers, like they were in this band for such a long time, and you guys were the newcomers. But the theme of the first two was that Eggy and Chick and the White Brothers were only in the band for 2 years. So,
that's mental.
Other than Rob and me, you're the longest member.
Get you a long service award, mate.
Yeah, man. I need to get one of those badges like I'm in the Beavers again.
That's what I say. There's a badge in the post.
That's crazy.
So fucking right.
I think it was what, around
5 years?
2016?
16.
Aye.
Yeah.
I think it was at the very start as well. Is when I joined. Obviously, like I didn't know you boys that well. I knew you just from like the music scene growing up through high school and stuff. We had the same kind of group of friends and things, which was really nice. So we knew each other just from like gigs and stuff like that, and like the high school bands. But yeah, it was nice how it all kind of came together, wasn't it?
Totally, man. Do you remember? So we needed a new guitarist and drummer, obviously, because Taylor and Harrison left at the same time, as we've discussed in the last episode. And as we've said many times on many drunk chats and love sessions that we all have because we love each other so much, you know, we auditioned for a lot of guitarists, but there was only one drummer. And let's be real here, real talk. We had you in mind and you auditioned, and I remember we just rehearsed, me, you, and Rob, because we wanted to get the drummer nailed before guitarist. And we were just, I mean, apart from the fact, and we've talked about this too, you played every song 17 times faster. Like Glasgow Stranger.
Right, boys, we've got a bus to catch in 15 minutes. Let's get this rehearsal done with.
rapping the lyrics. But other than that, I remember me and Rob just like had a chat before you came in, and I'd sent Rob your kind of, it wasn't an audition tape. You're too good a drummer to have to audition for anyone. But it was just like, right, lads, here's my wee taking it. Do you want to have a jam? Do you want to have a jam together?
I mind doing those videos, man. I think I did Ruiner and Glasgow Stranger. And I was like, right, I'll try to do a wee bit of a show off on these videos. You know, I'll try and show them my skills. So it's like playing the songs, but going like,
I imagine you had about a 49-piece drum kit at that time, didn't you?
That's what I was going to say.
I was like, right, I better set up all 7 China cymbals. I better get my 4 racks out, show them what I got.
So that's what Rob was. We talked before you came in, and Rob was like, "Yeah, man, like I really like how he plays the songs, but, you know, and I know he's a really good guy, but I don't know about all them cymbals, like." And then we rehearsed together, and he just looked over to me like this. He was like, I was like, yes.
Yeah, son. Yeah, that was a class we sessioned at. It was at Clearwater in the old studio as well, man. The old crap there. Yeah, it's so good. I remember you guys were like, right, Andy. You know, what songs do you guys? What songs do you want to jam? I was like, right, Bastard Son. Playing so fast, right? It was a mixture of just a little bit nervousness and just buzzing and just super excited, you know.
There wasn't a bad thing about it, man. It was just like, you know, we weren't tight as a 3. We weren't a band yet, so you're playing drums. Drums are fun to play. If you're playing things on your own, you know, you're going to play them quite fast because you want to test yourself. And we also done that as a little bit of a practice and a bit of fun at rehearsals. We'd sometimes go, right, now we're going to play the set because we played it 6 times already. now we're going to play it as fast as we can. So
yeah, totally.
that's good fun as well. But yeah, so you came in and you know, all the drummers in this band have been class, but you know, there's no secret. We've always said, you know, the lineup we've got now just feels the most natural, and whether that's where we all are in our lives, you know, we're all a bit older, everyone's on the same kind of wavelength about what we play and stuff. But yeah, it was such a natural fit when you came in. But obviously, to explain to the folks at home as well, obviously why this is like the last part, and we're not speaking with Mackay or Brian. Callum will be joining us shortly from Canada. That's fucking technology for you, you know what I mean?
Canada, eh? Yep.
What are you talking about, eh? Yeah, I've spoke with Brian Mackay this week. Both of them made real good contributions to this band.
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
But we're both in for kind of like a year, so it just felt that having a big 2-hour conversation for like 12 months a piece might have just been going over a lot of similar ground. But yeah, those guys. So Mackay joined when you first joined.
That's right, yeah.
Me and Rob had a kind of X Factor style day at a studio where loads of great guitarists and some other ones rehearsed for us. And we appreciate all their efforts. But we proper had a table set up and had to.
This is actually, was it like the wee director's chairs?
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't like rehearse and like we didn't sit and watch them. We all rehearsed together with a drum backing track. And then at the end of it, we'd sit down and have a wee chat about just things like they could all play the songs, but like, what do you want from it? Like some of them were like, you know, I want to be paid from this soon. And some of it were like, I want to be playing massive. Like we needed to find people that obviously were up for the grind because we'd made nothing. You know, we hadn't achieved anything, but we believed in what we could do. And yeah, but Mackay didn't make one of them. He just sent a tape. And like yourself, it was like, right, this guy seems like a natural fit. And yeah, Mackay was and is an unreal guitarist and was a really good addition to the band. I would say the Mackay years for me, and I mean this in the best way I can think of, they were like the heavy drinking years of Weekend from Wales, weren't they? Like all 4 of us just loved a tinny, and it just seemed to be at that point in life. So I've been looking through photos when I've been doing these. And most of the photos with Mackay are us all just like getting on it.
Yeah, man, it's like the tennis kind of sponsorship there.
Oh, what's going on here? So there's one, there's another. Just we're either just drinking or eating all the time.
Check you wee baby face there, Kyle, as well, man. That was like, yeah.
That was Inverness.
I look younger now than I do there. Must have been the hard drinking. Oh, is that the parish? Yes, shout out to the parish boys.
What a night, man.
But honestly, like, we had some amazing times. Like, Mackay, like, in the band, like, was a great member. Obviously, Shet Fest with the boys.
Oh shit. What a hangover.
Gives me
shout out to the crew in Shetland, man.
We video with Cons there. Remember we went down to Ramsbottom?
Yeah, Ramsarse.
Ramsbottom! We are inside of you!
Fuck off and die! No, we're not going to say that on stage, mate. Don't kill us. Mind that crazy guy?
Yeah. What about this one? Where was this again? I can't remember the name of the place.
Workington.
Right, Workington.
Yes.
So we arrived in Workington and it was a Halloween show, but we didn't think people were taking it seriously. And then we got there and all the bands were like made up and we were like, oh fuck. So we went to the local pound shop and just like that's the mess that look at Rob.
That was a creepy fucking mask.
Rob, you cut off like the bottom of that mask, didn't you?
Yeah, it just made it even creepier, man. That was like the hottest show ever as well, wasn't
it? Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of the venue was.
Show ever.
That was City of Culture, eh? Yeah, look at that hard bastard there, just in a shirt. Mackay's got 4 jackets on.
That was a great show, though. Like River Tay.
Yeah, that was class, man. That was really good.
It was brilliant. So good, man.
We played with Dougie McLean that night as well, eh?
Yeah, sung Caledonia, me and Dougie. Like literally 2 vocalists and then the choir beside us. And what about down in Manchester? That was a great show as well.
Yeah, that was a really good show, man.
That was a really nice wee venue, actually.
100%.
Yeah, Scuff of the Night Records.
Another pissed up photo, shock horror. So yeah, man, like absolute shout out to Mackay for some absolute beasting times. Great guitarist. Played on Places Unfamiliar and The Peak Beneath the Sea.
Yeah.
So Haunt Me was actually kind of, oh, this is a beauty.
What the fuck is going on there, man?
That's a Travelodge somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, Travelodge was our best friend, wasn't it?
Oh, I see if we could get a deal with Travelodge, man. That'd be amazing.
Is it
concert hall?
Yeah. So yeah, what we saying? Yeah. So Haunt Me EP was kind of split between Mackay and Brian, wasn't it? So Places Unfamiliar and The Peak Beneath the Sea, and then was that your first recording as well, Andy, with us?
Yeah, that was the first time back in the studio for me since I was 15, which is crazy.
So we were. Sorry, on you go.
No, I was just gonna say I remember stepping into the studio and meeting Bruce the first time. I mean, like, right, how are you playing along with a metronome? I was like, what the fuck's a metronome?
I didn't play Pokemon anymore, sorry.
Yeah.
Metronome!
Do you remember there's a shiny, bro?
Pterodactyl!
Yeah, and then, like, I don't know, he set the kit up for us, he tuned it off, he's like, your kit sounds awful, man.
Classic Bruce.
Yeah, he tuned it up. And yeah, then we went for it, man, and then just play along for the first few times. I think I was just playing along with you, Kyle, just as guides. And you slowly fall into rhythm, man. You get the hang of it, you get comfortable. And yeah, that was such a fun weekend, man. It was just the 2 songs we recorded at the start, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Really, really good fun.
I remember Bruce standing there like that. So who's this new drum? Who are these new members you've got? Because we recorded the album with the White Brothers, and I was like, oh, it's Andy Mackay. He's like, let's see what he's got. And then, like, you know, he's tuning your drums like boom, boom, but he's looking around at me like, and then he's like, right, metronome. He's like, give him time, and then he started playing, and he just turned around his seat, and he was like, yeah, he's really good. He's really good. I was like, yeah, I know. Right, that's fun. So yeah, that was. I remember we did a lot of the rehearsing for that in Edinburgh, actually, through at Mackay's kind of studio where he would rehearse near the castle.
That's right. Yeah.
That's where we actually wrote Beneath the Sea. Remember, I was just playing that riff, down, and we just started getting really heavy with it.
I feel like that was definitely like the opening of Wolves. Their heavy rock, more emo-y stage was coming from there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that either.
I've definitely discussed in the previous 2 podcasts, like, that is my style. You know, that's what I listen to. The kind of indie rock into like pop punk, indie punk style of the first, and then the second one being more like indie versus like alt rock, poppy rock. It was kind of like, I've never like written just to like tick a box, but it was kind of like, this is kind of in the trend at the moment, and I was trying something new, but eventually it came back to this, and this was always what all of us
naturally comes from that way in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can hear it, and when you sing or when you see a performance, you're not selling anything, you're just bearing your soul, really, and it comes across a lot more naturally, I think.
And I think as well, man, like when we had us sort of kind of come together as like an actual band, you bounce off each other's influences and how each other perform, how each other play, their own styles. So I kind of feel like that all merged into one to make it much easier to write that kind of stuff, which is really cool. So
100%. So yeah, Mackay left to focus on his own things. We've been blessed in this band that anytime someone's left, it's always been super amicable. And Mackay obviously was of the mind that he wanted to be like, without singing, be a front man, be the songwriter, be the guy that drives a band. And we encouraged him to do that. And he's done great things with Gypsy Circus. So that then moved on to, we can't move on from Mackay without talking about London.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we don't need to go into all the details, but
first of all, that gig, man, was one of my favorite gigs that we played. In terms of like, the venue was pretty big, and the
Unreal.
sound was absolutely class. A huge crowd, and I think it wasn't Camden Rocks, was it?
No, it was. It was Highbury Academy, wasn't? No, was it Academy?
Was it called Face Down or something like that? Face Down Promotions or something?
Oh, I can't remember now. It was Di got us the gig, didn't he?
It was at the
kids were crowd surfing.
Yeah, it was at the garage. It was a place called the Garage.
The Garage, that was it. Sorry, the Garage. Yeah, the Highbury Garage.
And I mind the bands that performed before we came on. Man, it was like that 80s kind of style, but all like the leggings and the big fucking. Oh man, they were so. They were so good. So we're like vibing out listening to those guys, and then we're like, "Fuck it, right, we're coming on, we're on next." And like the crowd just came in, man, when we came on stage. Obviously, we used to like start our shows with just like feedback, cymbals, just like Kyle saying like, "Come on, like, bring the crowd in." And all these kids just came in, man, and like you were saying, we had crowd surfing, there were pits opening up and shit. It was just wild. I think that was one gig which really stands out my whole time with Wolves, which like. I don't know. It just you really felt like you were in like a massive band when you just look out and these people singing like the songs back to you and shit. It was just so cool.
It's one of those ones we talked about Elgin with the previous lineup, but we played Elgin another 2 times with you as well, with Mackay and Brian, I believe. And that one in London. Yeah, that one in London was the same, man. Like you showed up, like obviously we're on Spotify and shit, and we know that some people know of us, but most of the time, we're of a level where there's going to be 2 or 3 people in the crowd, and we've always valued those 2 or 3 people, and then we're trying to win new fans. We went down to that one to a full hall, and they're all fucking singing our shit and crowd surfing, and we're like, what? How is this a thing? And that's the frustrating thing about this band for me, and I don't know if it's ever been like anything we've done wrong or just didn't quite get to the next stage, but we've had those experiences in Karlsruhe and Oberhausen and fucking Elgin and London. It's just joining those dots, Glasgow and Perth. If we got that everywhere we went, well, that's making it. You just play to a full place who love you every night, like. But we just never made able to get to. We've had a good following in some places. We never got that kind of everywhere we went, you know. But that is what it is. But yeah, London. Obviously, Mackay. Our good friend who was managing us at the time, and rest in peace, Di. Sadly, passed away a couple of years ago. But what a guy he was! Take a minute to say, like, insane drummer. We toured with Hopeless Heroic, and he was just this supreme musician and such a beautiful, beautiful soul as well. He decided he wanted to just help us because he wasn't playing and he was going through cancer, but didn't want to let that beat him. So focusing on the good shit, he decided to like manage us for a wee while and get us some opportunities. So he took us down there. We then went and stayed with him and his fiancée at the time. They were married as well after that. But we went down with Rory and stayed at his house, and it was like this beautiful penthouse place overlooking the Millennium Dome, everything like that. And Mackay had decided to go to a wee house party instead. And then we got up in the morning, there was like a drum pad we were playing on, like a piano, like we all got separate showers. We're like, oh,
the best cooked breakfast as well.
Yeah, 360 views around London and stuff.
Unbelievable.
Right over the Thames.
Yeah. And then we picked up Mackay, who had got on the wrong tube and took like 2 hours to get there. And we went, how was your night last night? And he was just like this. I slept in the corner of a bare room.
Oh man, he was in a bad way, wasn't he?
Unbelievable. This is
the 3 of us were just so zened out as well. We had like the best night. Yeah, that's it, man.
That's the views.
Good. Incredible.
Unbelievable. So that was Mackay all over. Like, loved the party so much that he risked it all. Missed the best night of fucking hospitality in his life. That's all good, man. I guess we're going to Brian because the man from over Atlantic will be joining us soon. Then we needed another guitarist, and I don't know how many people in Weekend from Wolves who follow the band know this, but we actually auditioned plenty of people, but Brian and Callum at that point were like our decision to make, weren't they?
Yeah, it's down to the two of them, yeah.
And it was very hard. And I would say now it's rare for me. Like, I get on with so many people, but like my close friends numbers are low. You two are obviously in there. But with Callum, for someone that I've known in such little time, like, he is literally like a brother to me. He's like a little brother. Like, he I don't say little in a condescending way, just purely because of age. Like, he inspires me in so many ways, what he's went and done this year.
100%, yeah, absolutely.
But like, a kindred spirit, and no diss to Brian, because Brian got picked because at the time we thought he was a better option and a great guy in his own right. But it's just, I always feel it's like really significant that it came round to Callum, and maybe if we just went with Callum first, like, we could have achieved a lot more with him. But Brian was picked because I think in the audition, none of them put a foot wrong, but we thought Brian had, like, he does a lot of covers online and nails them, and we thought he had a really good understanding of, like, the sound of We Came From Wolves. Like, he had nailed in the tones and was playing along to, like, some of the new tunes, and yeah, so we went with Brian, and again, no regrets whatsoever.
At that gig that we played on Tay Street, did he not, him and his pal, who I call Brother Dad, did they not play an acoustic version of a Wolf song to you, which kind of sparked the original idea of being like, okay, this guy could maybe work. Obviously, you thought that afterwards when Mackay said he might be leaving, but like, you're like, oh shit, there's this boy here which played a song better than I can play on guitar. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So we were sitting in city halls like the Lord Provost in Perth. So yeah, to paint a picture for people, we were away to play this gig with Dougie McLean, and like Perth was bidding for the City of Culture, so they made this huge stage overlooking the Tay. It was fucking freezing, but it was brilliant sound and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we were going to play with Dougie McLean singing Caledonia. Me, Dougie, some instrumentalists. I guess you'd call them musicians.
Instrumental.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Glee.
I am
like Gaelic choir, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then there was the Gaelic choir. So we went to the Lord Provost house, which was fucking balling. What a big baller with his chain. And and then we practiced it with the choir just to see what they would come in. And Brian was just there with his acoustic, and he went, actually, I know your songs already, so I'll just play them for you. We're like, all right. I was like, I'll just put mine. I'll just fuck myself then, eh? And then and then he played it, and I was like,
this is how you play it.
Yeah, and then he played it, and I was like, oh, do you want my guitar, man? Like, brilliant guitarist. And so it was very tough between him and Callum, but we went with Brian at the time. It might have also been the fact that you two were in Perth, me and Callum lived in Glasgow at the time, so it would have split it. Brian being in Perth, it meant I was just going to travel through, I don't know, whatever reason we went with Brian, and we had some fucking great times with Brian as well. So we hadn't put out the first two we'd recorded with Mackay, so Peak Beneath the Sea and Places Unfamiliar. So with Brian we recorded Haunt Me and Falling.
And Never Gets Easy.
And This Never Gets Easy.
And
had some fucking beasting shows as well. So was Belladrum with Mackay or Brian?
Belladrum
Mackay.
Mackay. That was Mackay. That's right. So I think Brian's first gig was Camden Rocks. I think.
Yeah.
It was
man.
Camden Rocks, and then I think it was North Hop after that before he went on a European tour.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's right. So we played Camden Rocks and then literally went on this tour, eh?
That's the one, man.
And that was to date. Other than this, and unfortunately Rob didn't make it because it was such a freak snowstorm. We had to take Taylor. But this and the last European tour we did are both my favourite tours to date. Absolutely amazing. Just met some great people. So this was down in London when Brian had just joined the band.
I love London.
I love London. I love it.
I love it.
Just doing a close.
I know, that's a right photo shoot.
This was we played in Inverness and they had an old picture, so Andy did the old face swap.
Oh man,
Rob, that beard, man, that's so good, man.
You should bring that back for sure, mate.
Big UNR photography, mate. Just looked dapper, didn't he?
Chris Millington, fucking who? That boy, man. Rabsy.
Bastard, Rabsy.
Broke 1,000 hearts. No, I didn't really.
You broke
played with the boy from Iron Maiden's son. That's a claim to fame.
Oh shit! Right enough.
Sounded exactly like him, man. It was
Bruce
crazy.
Dickinson's son.
Bruce Dickinson. That's the one.
I can't remember the name of his band now, which is annoying.
That was the night after Camden Rocks when there was a terrorist attack in London.
Shit, that's right.
And we managed to get Tom back home and then stayed with Di and Rory at their new flat. That was us coming home on the ferry once.
Is that from Butte Fest?
That's just after Butte Fest, man.
Oh, is it? I thought that was in Holland.
No, there's a picture of us on the ferry home in Holland, and it's probably the tiredest anyone has ever looked, man.
Look at this.
Oh man, yes.
That is a consummate pro. Look at how that mic stand has bent down, and I've just kept going.
You broke a guitar string there as well, I'm pretty sure.
Aye, Tom was sitting about here and had to run upstairs for the fucking string. But no, some absolute amazing shows as well. Here's Carlsbad.
Carlsbad, man. Honestly,
that
was one of my favourite gigs as well. Just that audience, man. That's with those young students, man. The 5 of them, it was their first ever gig they'd ever been to.
Yep.
And like,
those Indian dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's that dance that me and Kyle always do. I always reminisce of it, where they just had the 5 of them were all looking at each other in a row, just like this, and then like
what's going on?
Them by the side going.
I still get messages on the Weekend from Wolves page from them saying like your wolf pack is waiting for you. When will you return from that?
Oh, I love those guys.
Mind we broke the grab machine.
Oh shit! That was
I think I got about 7 of those Paw Patrol things.
Every single one you played, you won. And then this Japanese guy was there with his mates, and they asked to get their picture taken.
Yeah.
They thought we were like some sort of like World Cup winners of the grab machine.
Teddy Picker champs.
That's in Namur in Belgium.
Oh yeah.
That
place.
Patch there, man.
Is it? Oh, what was that called again? Was it Folkestone?
Aye.
I think it was Folkestone, wasn't it? Oh, that's Carlsbad.
That's the next bike, way before they came to Scotland.
They're Schloss.
That's like a metal band cover, that first one with the bikes there.
That's the countries. Yeah, we're all in different countries, aren't we?
Belgium, France, Holland, Germany, or something like that.
I think I invented the Rob Dav as well, the Rab Dav.
But we saw some amazing places, eh?
Oh, Aachen.
Music Bunker.
Aachen. That was
this guy was
one gig, man.
Legend, wasn't he?
We rocked up to that gig and we're like, right, who's supporting us tonight? And they're like, yeah, there's no support whatsoever. It's just you guys. And we're like, shit, we've never been here before. There's a massive venue. It was in that old bunker, wasn't it? And
the old bunker.
Who's actually going to rock up to this show, man? Anyway, like a few hours went by, the hospitality was class, they fed us really well, got loads of beers, and then we looked out into the audience and all of a sudden it was fucking packed. And they'd obviously just advertised it so well, man.
But remember that tour though, like we were asking people, we were like, why are you here? Like we weren't used to it. And they were like, remember that was when we first started getting playlisted by Spotify for we've always been a band that like early on our first album, we played the game, we paid money for PR and stuff. And any band that does that, like that's your call. This is not me try to fucking say we're above it. I've had years of DIY guys say that we're not DIY because we pose in photos and we don't look like we fucking, wear shite clothes and that. Like, you don't need to pretend you're a fucking punk. It's a fucking way of life. We've been DIY all of our fucking life, Yeah. But after that fucking album, we didn't pay PR. We thought, it's not worth it. I can just send emails myself. I'll do loads of podcasts. I'll do loads of interviews. And, we just started getting playlisted by Spotify. We paid not a penny for it. But I remember we went to Germany and people at that Oberhausen gig and people at the one near Dortmund and stuff, they were like, we heard you on this playlist, then we looked on your tour dates and we've driven 2 hours here to see you tonight on a school night and shit. We're like, that's fucking unreal.
Yeah, they had exams the next day, didn't they, man, in Aachen?
Yeah.
Their final exams or something. They're like, we'll just get pissed, man. They're like, fucking right.
There was a dude, there was a band that we supported the one with the chick singer. I can't mind what they were called. It's the guys were like, yeah, Junge.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the name of the band either, but they're such nice dudes. He's still in touch with us now.
Guys. Yeah, sound as fuck. But there was a guy that came to that show, and he came up to us afterwards. He was like, I didn't realise you guys were playing tonight, but I've just saved your song, Play Some Familiar, on Spotify. It came up on a playlist like a few weeks ago, and I've saved it. And you guys just so happened to be playing tonight. I recognised it as soon as I heard it. I was like, no way, that's wild.
Yeah, that was so freaky, man, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was like, I was just listening, I was watching this other band, and I heard the and then he went, hold on, and he Shazammed it, and was like, this is fucking wicked. And he didn't even know we were Scottish. He didn't know we were from the UK. He was like, I just thought it was like this American band or something. You know, he's like, I can't believe you're fucking playing here. Totally. It's fucking wild. Remember, this was so Rob's dad was in the army, so he's born in Germany, and we actually drove when we were on that tour to where he was born.
Yeah, so that's a place called Iserlohn, which is about 50 miles outside Dortmund, North Rhine-Westphalia. So we thought we'd recreate the moment of my birth. So that used to be the hospital, but now it's like the university.
Look at the umbilical cord. It's just like an old piece of tape or something. I don't know.
Poetry in motion, that for.
Amazing, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had. I mean, days like that when you're just. I don't think you can explain to folk that aren't in bands, because listen, you can go and have holidays, places, city breaks. That's great, but you're you're doing something with a purpose. See when you're. I mean, you don't get a lot of downtime in the band, but see if you've managed to play a show close the day before, and you have some time to actually walk around. These are fucking brilliant moments because you've got no money.
Incredible.
So it's literally just walking around these little like fucking museums and cathedrals and, you know, and literally just fucking seeing the place, grabbing a coffee with your friends and what about...
Yeah, taking it all in properly.
The Aardvark.
One of our favourite places, Arnhem.
Steve.
With our good friend, fucking Jasper.
Yeah.
I thought I had a picture of Jasper and Jimmy the dog. Obviously not.
No, that was at the bottom of the street, man.
Was a beautiful place.
Oh, I do.
So
Here we go.
Nice, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Nice.
Yeah, that's underneath the big windmill.
Yeah. There's Jimmy. There's Jasper. Legend.
Total lad, man.
And this is coming home from that. Do you remember the banter we had on that ferry?
Oh, man.
We had a session on the top deck that night.
What a beautiful fucking night, eh?
Mind that was when we had the young team were in the cinema.
Yeah.
Mind it was a massive storm as well. It was like the end of like one of those American storms that come over the Atlantic. So it was like the choppiest boat ride ever. Like trying to get up the stairs for the cinema, you were bloated.
By the way, it wasn't the choppiest ever. Buttefest was the fucking choppiest ever.
I don't know. Shitfest, man, as well.
That's what I mean. Sorry, that's what I mean. Shitfest.
Dude, I mind we were at the very front. Well, I'm not sure if it was coming back or going there. It was really bad. Probably both, actually. But we were looking at the front of the boat, and like you had the big like bay windows, and you could just at one point only see water, and all you would see was sky. And you're like, oh.
Shitfest was fucking wild, man.
Oh, basically drank for like 72 hours straight.
Well, the ferry there was something daft, like 14 hours. It was really long to get there, and we drank pretty much the whole way. We got there about... we all looked absolutely haggard. So haggard. Then we arrived about 6. It looks like it, aye.
The black eye?
Aye, less said the better. See the other guy.
Yeah, that venue was amazing, man. Was it the wheel or the...
Da wheel.
Like that. Da wheel, yeah, da wheel.
Look at big fucking sexy Dave, 8 foot tall, man. He belongs up there, the Viking bastard.
He does, eh? Big handsome
shag. That was the first time I ever met.
Oh, hey, baby.
Boys up there.
Sugar. Lovely.
Oh,
hey, you just look amazing in black and white, don't you?
Look at this.
Every
Dab squad.
Yeah, the dab session.
Oh man, we made friends for life there and up in Shetty, like.
100%.
Such good boys.
100%.
That's us.
Tell you what, man. Danny Carter, he's one of the best dudes ever. He supports us so much as well, man.
Same with Glasgow Saints and We Came From Wales. like Sandy as well. There's Danny there. Yeah. Danny and Sandy both support everything, man. Amazing.
Love it. Absolutely love it, man.
But yeah, I mean, that's the people you meet. Like, so, you know, our tour booker from Good Riddance, Matthias, and, you know, his wife came over, Michelle, lovely couple. Me and Nick went to dinner with them. You know, the French boys we met in Paris all those years ago. The Shitfest boys came over to a gig in Glasgow, and I catch up with them all, and that's fucking priceless, man. Like, the things we've done in this band have been, you know, amazing, prideful, emotional, all this shit. But like the relationships you make, like, you know, having thousands of people on Facebook, obviously you don't have thousands of close friends, but I could tell you a story about how I know every one of them. And that's literally through being on tour and meeting 30 people a night and then going to another place. Like, it's a gift. Like, a lot of people don't get that in life, you know, like they know the people in their town, and it's something I probably take for granted. You just think, of course I know all these folk, but it's fucking amazing, man, to know so many good people through just doing what you love, you know?
100%, man. You know what? We've not actually touched base on this gig, but I just got a wee flashback to it. So this is actually, I'm pretty sure it was with Mackay, it wasn't with Brian, but remember Pullman Prison?
Oh, shit, yeah.
That
was mental, man. Fucking played in Prison. Got with Johnny Cash.
6 hour set.
Three gigs in the day, wasn't it? It was like to 3 different groups of young offenders. And I tell you what, I've never felt like, actually, one of the groups were quite sound, but in mind there was like one which was just separated into 2 groups of boys. And it was just like security guys in between them. And we're like, fucking hell, there's about 20 lads here, 2 security and 4 of us. We're hefty outnumbered. Like.
Oh, if it kicked off, we were fucked, weren't we, man? There was like 3 prison officers and about 100 cons.
They were just like,
don't hurt us, boys, we're here to help you.
Man. None of them were applauding it. Songs yeah, fucking skinny jean wanted. Oh,
it was intimidating.
I remember giving one of them some patter back, and the woman at the end was like, "Aye, that's what you need to do. They don't respect if you're just like shitting yourself, you know." But they're just young laddies. But I remember chatting to a couple of them who were like really, you know, they made mistakes when they were young, and they had like learnt guitar when they were in there, and one of them had learnt to do PT, and they, you know, they were really looking forward to like making a better future, and you know, they'd done some wrong to other young guys, but it could have been the same way because they were in gangs and their parents came to visit them, and you know, it was all forgiven and stuff. And I remember thinking, like, I kind of got it wrong. I just thought it was there for like bad folk, but listen, folk make mistakes. So without getting too deep, I remember doing that and actually thinking, fuck, man, like everyone makes a fuck up some point in their life. How hard they make it, what's your environment, and that everyone just deserves a second chance if they're remorseful and they're trying to make amends. Like, that's the main thing, isn't it? But no, I enjoyed those gigs for that very reason, man.
Yeah,
it was good fun.
Yeah, it was like, how often can you say you played a gig in a prison, man? It's crazy.
Exactly.
That's it. I mind, like the laddie was saying as well, like they had an underground currency in there, which was, I think it was shower gel. Was it no?
Yeah.
They said like they trade shower gel for certain things, and the guy was telling us about how they make their own moonshine and shit. I was like, fuck,
yeah. I like orange peels or something, man. That was mad. Educational, like.
All right, I'm taking notes.
So obviously those were 2 fucking clash years, and it feels like we crammed so much. I mean, the theme for the next section when Callum comes in is that, you know, he is like yourself as the 3rd longest member. Callum's the 4th, but unfortunately for him, or all of us, what's happened in life has just meant that we've done a lot less in that time. Now, not behind the scenes, definitely not behind the scenes. We've written more songs than ever. We've got more plans in place, and we'll talk about that with Callum when he comes in. But in terms of actual gigs and that, a lot less. So Brian obviously left the band as well for just kind of personal reasons. Again, wanting to play music with more kind of his friends, which is totally understandable. You and him had a really close relationship. I was maybe, you know, me and Rob maybe just a wee bit older, just different guys. But there was never ever any like foul atmosphere of that. Like, I loved his time in the band. I thought his presence was class, but I think for him, he maybe felt he was in there doing a job, which probably doesn't feel as fun. You know what I mean? Whereas with us, we all kind of are in it having the same banter and things like that. So, Brian, again, like Mackay, absolutely class. And when he left, no ill wills at all. Just went on to do his own thing. So before we get the boy, the Mr. Fantastic over the Atlantic, I guess I just want to kind of get a quick kind of rundown from you, Andy, because most lineups get some questions fired their way. But we'll chat about this. We'll chat about this with Callum as well. Let's just see. I'll just see if there's anything relevant to maybe just kind of you. Yeah. So, what's your kind of best either gig or tour memory? You don't need. It doesn't need to be huge, long answers. Up to you. What's your favourite one?
One of the best gigs in Perth Concert Hall, man. Because I guess it's local. Yeah. It's one of those venues, I guess, growing up in Perth. I saw Biffy Clyro there, so I've seen some massive bands, and just aspired to play your local big venue. And I mean, the sound there was just insane, man. I think when we played, it wasn't necessarily a huge turnout of that, but I think it was more just like a nostalgia kind of vibe going on. Loved that. I loved that show. What else was there? I think just in general, the European tour that we played, was just insane. That one with Brian, every show there, it was just a fucking insane 2 weeks. I think every show that we played was just such a highlight, man, in terms of that era.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. In terms of place, so not talking about the gig, but what's the favourite place you visited with the band?
Germany, hands down, man.
Just as a whole, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think the actual places.
I'd agree, man. I'd agree. Just driving around, I think everything's huge.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. I think spend a day, or sometimes we're lucky enough to spend 2 days in the place. We get a day off, but all these places that we visited in Germany, I love that place as a country. The people there are so welcoming. The music scene out there, especially for our genre, is so welcoming as well. It was just really good atmospheres all the time. All the promoters were sound as. They always treated us just so good. You come in and be like, I have a fridge full of beer for you guys. What food do you want? I'll make sure that's here upon your arrival, and all this stuff. Our accommodation was always tip top. The banter was grand. It was just so good, man. Germany was just always up there. Yeah,
100%. I think most of these other questions I've got, we can we'll do with Callum once we've had a chat, so we can all discuss. But I don't know how I'll do this, because usually I'm doing a wee montage of that lineup. But let's just, for devilment's sake, we'll roll them into one, because it was only one kind of EP we released. But all three of us, what do you think was the song that defined us on that kind of era? So obviously I would never want to musically put Brian and Mackay into one, but we only recorded one EP. So I guess we're talking about the Haunt Me EP. For that kind of era, Brian and Mackay and us three, what's the song that you think kind of says it all for Wolves at that time?
For me, I would say It's Never Gets Easy.
Robsy?
I think the song is, yeah.
Sorry, Andy, on you go. I've got a lag here.
No, it's not good, man. Yeah, I just think that song it's still probably one, if not my favourite song to play live. Just good vibes, good memories of writing it. The lyrics and everything about it is just, I don't know, hype.
Mm-hmm. Nah, it's a good one, man. I remember playing that at I mean, it was probably, no offence to them at all, they put on a cool wee thing, but it was like a wee youth hostel. We'd been playing proper venues on that on that tour, sorry, and then we came and played this kind of youth hostel in Glauchau, Germany.
Yeah, it was a long drive, that, wasn't it?
A long drive, and it was a tiny wee place, and it was like, we were getting put up in some plush places, and we probably felt a bit spoiled. It was like second last day of the tour, and we were just crammed into this one wee room, so we were feeling a wee bit kind of spoiled and a bit grumpy about it because we were tired. But the last song of the night, This Never Gets Easy. I've got a video of it, and it's probably the best we've ever played that live, because it was a wee hardcore crowd. There was a lot of heavy bands. We were playing our stuff, and people were into it, but we played that one, and there's a lot of screaming in it, but it's really uplifting screaming. It's not usually like minor chords, and like the whole crowd was like, yes, and I saw that, and that just fucking feeds you more, doesn't it? So I remember just having in my head, let's just wreck our voice, because it's fucking second last night, and I was like giving it fucking belting. But nah, it was good. That was good. Robsy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably like say the same as Andy. Just it's just one of those songs, isn't it? Like, the best songs do tend to be written really quickly, and I remember that song just came together in about 10 minutes or something out at your dad's, didn't it, Andy, man?
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, I mean, I love that song to play live as well. I think the energy and it's incredible. But I'll probably go Places Unfamiliar then, just because, like you mentioned with the Spotify playlist and that, Kyle, that song really kind of took things up to another level for us. I'm sure it's probably got about 500,000 plays or something on Spotify, which is a huge thing to us. It's probably not a big thing to like other bands. But
75 pence.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking can't wait to go to the corner shop and get a bag of pick and mix off that bad boy. But yeah, I mean, it's
Calippo.
I know,
sharing
man, it. Well done, boys.
No, man.
So yeah, I just think getting the Spotify playlist, it just appeared on like loads of like Spotify playlists, didn't it? Like we didn't even do anything. We didn't know like anyone from Spotify and get a favor called in. It was just like, I think one of your pals message you or something, Kyle? And
so how it started was, by the way, I would pick Places Unfamiliar as well. I think that's one of the first. Oh, it's hard to say. It's hard to put in words so quickly for a summary. We could get into like song meanings. We could continue this kind of thing. If people like it, tell us in the comments. We could go and dissect songs and episodes. But Places Unfamiliar for me, I've always been honest about how I write, but that was the first time I was like explicitly honest. And it was a period in my life where, it was the first time I actively admitted that I was like suffering from like depression. And depression I used to think meant that you were depressed all the time. It wasn't that. It was like I was getting like these periods of like a few weeks of feeling like fucking what is it? Honestly, what is the point? What am I bringing? What would be different? Nothing if I wasn't here. Not really thinking about like the fucking worst of it, but like getting close and like going, what the fuck? And that is Places Unfamiliar, and the correlation between that was we'd come off these really class tours doing what I felt, not wanting to be in a band for money and success, but doing what I felt I was good at, engaging with crowds, being courteous and polite, meeting people, seeing new people, giving my absolute everything, like being soaked through to the bone after shows and thinking, right, I've done an honest, solid day's work at something I'm good at, and then coming home and being like looked down on because I hadn't done so many lines in a spreadsheet or fucking, and it was just like mess with your head. You were like up on this fucking high and not looking for success, just looking for what you feel alive doing, and then being like basically and that's what that song means. This isn't a game for me. You know what I mean? That is what the lyric is. So for me, that really was the first time when I was like, right, I can be honest with my lyrics, or I can be honest. And there's no like thinking about how a song should sound. It's like, I remember doing the intro and going, oh, this is too simple. Thinking like the ones in the album were like more intricate. And it was like, simple doesn't mean shit. It just means you're not overthinking it. And it was, I started to do things differently. It was like the first melody that comes out my mouth, that's the melody. The lyrics that come out, that's it. Because the more you think about it, you're like filtering things. You're like putting filters on them in this age of Instagram and retyping things and doing drafts. And it was like, nah, let's fucking just do this. So, so my mate Lozzie messaged me. I was like on a bus home, I think from Perth at a rehearsal. And he was like, oh, amazing, man. Just fucking on the Spotify rock playlist, and it's been on Biffy, Bring Me Horizon, Green Day, and then you came on, and I went, oh, nice one, man, cheers. And I was like thinking to myself, really, We Came As Romans is on that playlist, and he's read it, and he's trying to give us props for it
all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I looked on the playlist, and I went, holy fuck, it's us. And it got like a 250,000 listens in like 2 weeks. And then from then, every single we have released from the Haunt Me EP, so that's 5, and then what we'll talk about with Callum, 4 others, have all been on an official playlist. And we've never dialed in. We don't have favours to dial in. We've just been contacted by, it's actually a guy at Spotify France, who said, love your stuff the very first time, love your stuff, are we okay to include this? And then it's been on loads of different playlists, but all Spotify official. So I can't thank him enough for just liking the stuff, I guess. But we've not done anything huge, but it did reinforce to me, you don't need to pay for shit. Just do what you feel fucking passionate about. And if someone likes it, great. If they don't, and we didn't get the Spotify playlist, it doesn't mean fuck all either. We still love it. We still feel passionate about it. So who cares?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well said.
Right, I'm going to go for a urination station, and then we're going to dial in the beast from the west.
My man.
From Cannes, it's Callum.
It's me,
the best from the west.
Oh, it's nice to see you all. Nice
the
to see
Viagra from Niagara.
Pleasure.
Shockingly, the first time I've ever heard that.
Well
done.
Christ, I'm a lyricist, Callum.
Yeah, you're here to bring the goods.
Exactly. Fucking good to see you, mate.
You too, man.
You too.
Yes, boys.
Cheers to you all.
Reunited once again.
So this is we've done 3 episodes of this. This being the 3rd. We did the first half of this one talking about kind of Mackay and Brian's input, but there's no disrespect, there's no shade put on anyone in any of the versions when I say this is Wolves' final form. This is
the boys.
Yeah, just in terms of everyone being on the same page, musical influences, like personal kind of chemistry. I'll cut to the chase or give a spoiler here. You know, this is not the end of Wolves. There are challenges in place, 100%. It's not the end, but if this lineup ever changes, Wolves will end, because this is as good as it got for all of us. So yeah, great to fucking chat through the previous versions and have all those great memories. But yeah, Callum, we were saying to Andy today that he always felt a wee bit like a newbie in Wolves, even though. But we actually looked back, and the first lineup was 2 years, the second lineup was 2.5 years, and then he's been in since 2016. So Andy's the 3rd longest member, and you are actually the longest serving guitarist, and we came from Wolves.
It's wild,
seriously?
isn't it,
Yeah.
The longest. Well, I mean, I'll take it.
But it's just a bit mad, eh? Like, I think some people will think that maybe we downed tools, but so you were in the band for like a year, kind of got into a tour, did some recording, and then we had a year when we all decided as a band. I mean, it wasn't ideal for you because you just joined, but we all decided as a band. I was getting married, Andy was launching his own business, Rob had become a manager at work. Me and you were doing a wee bit together, Callum, try to keep things running in the background, but that was kind of a year out. And then this year you were always going to be traveling to Canada, which you've done.
That's right.
We all supported and are so proud of everything you're doing there. And then we've been hit with this pandemic, which is probably, not want to speak for your plans, whether you want to stay there even longer is your business, we'll support that anyway, but that's even extended that further because you didn't get to do everything you wanted to do.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like going to be like a 2-year kind of wait minimum when we look back on the whole stretch of it, you know. So it kind of makes it seem a little bit like we've done nothing, but we'll talk about what we've done behind the scenes, and there's definitely plans afoot.
Yeah, it's more of a snowball effect of one thing after the other. I don't think we initially saw all of this coming all at once. When I joined the band, I didn't expect to be moving across the Atlantic a year later, but we also didn't expect a fucking pandemic, so, you know, we never know.
100%, man. 100%. So, yeah, I don't see any of it as like any failures or anyone's done anything like wrong or we've been lazy. It's just been a kind of just again a signal.
Away, hasn't it?
Yeah, signal of the times, I guess. But we've asked everyone this, Callum, so it might seem a bit like on you centric, but there'll definitely be ones where it opens up to this version of the band. It's just been this episode or part, if you like, it's been a bit tougher because we've had to kind of put it in half. But
no, I'm in the hot seat. That's the way I like it. This is my time to
Question
shine.
time.
So we were talking about how you actually had a chance to join the band a wee bit earlier, and that was a pretty hard decision for us anyway. But whether you want to talk about that or when you did join the band, what's like your early memories of how it all came about and stuff like that?
Well, when I first planted the seed, I suppose, was, I don't know, 2011, 2012, when we first met in Dundee.
Yeah.
So to me, that's where the whole thing begins, really. When I'd been aware of the band for a wee while. I believe you'd been aware of my band at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we shared the stage in, was it Fat Sam's in Dundee?
Dexter's, I think.
Dexter's, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that night pretty well. I remember just kind of getting to know you, Kyle. Quite frankly, don't remember anyone else. Just not that memorable. I've always thought that about
Rab's like,
So, of course, I only really got the chance to talk to Kyle. But we kind of very... What's that?
Who supported who?
Oh, we definitely supported Wolves. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We were very young at the time. I don't know, probably maybe...
Was this Duke?
Yeah, this was Duke. So
yeah,
I'd have been 18 maybe. Yeah. And then, yeah, I think we kind of very loosely kept in touch, showed up at each other's shows once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you eventually got in touch and asked me to get involved, I was pretty excited about it. And I was kind of at the point where I'd been making my own music and stuff along the side, but I just wanted to get back into something a bit more full-time. And really just sort of start meeting people again, just get back out there playing shows without having to put in all the legwork all on my own. So it was pretty nice timing. But also, I mean, there are various factors that made sense for me not joining the first time round, probably on both sides. But I don't even remember how much longer after that it was that we had another catch up.
It was like 1 year, and we've already spoke about like literally for both you and Brian. It was like we've said this to both Brian at the time and to you many times. It was like, how the fuck can we decide this? Like literally,
yeah.
I mean, I'm really into my sports, obviously, and I often think, you know, when a team shortlists like two guys for one position, they're like, right, who do we sign? And you can't look into the future. You've not built that relationship yet, and it's like,
yeah,
they're both amazing. They just bring different things. And I think at the time, honestly, what we decided on, because it was like literally so hard, was Brian's got like the tone in his amp just now, and Callum's got a different kind of tone, like. And
that makes absolute sense, because.
But you know what? It was like, I don't even think that's a good reason, but we didn't have any reasons not to pick one of us. We even at one point said, I don't think we've actually said this before. We said, why don't you just sing, Kyle, and we'll get both of them? Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly.
We also then said, because Brian played piano as well, so how about get him on like the keys, get Callum for leads, Kyle for rhythm. Let's get a massive band, and they go like, hold on, maybe that's just a bit daft. Maybe it won't quite work that way.
So
yeah, but I mean, in spite of all that, it kind of made sense to me, because as much as I wanted to go for it, I'd never been a lead guitarist before. So my band before that, which is the only thing I'd ever done on any sort of bigger scale, was me as the singer, songwriter, guitarist. You know, my style was a bit more Simon Neil-esque, where it's sort of trying to take a lot more in than just lead guitar. So the whole thing was pretty new to me, and still is to some extent, but I've enjoyed learning it. But I think all that to say, it made a lot of sense to sort of take things the way that they were taken. I don't know.
Man, I think like you've always kind of said that you're not a lead player, but like I don't really know what a lead player is. Like all I can say is, and I've said before you've joined this call before, like I've called so many people pals, but like my inner circle is really, really tight, and it takes a while. But with me and you, it just really hit it off. And I've said, not in a condescending way, I only say it because of age. I've seen you like a little brother since we met. And, we got so close. And like when there's nobody, like Chick and Eggy are like big brothers to me. Mackay and Brian, I didn't know them long enough. But as much as I love to bits, like Rob, Chick and Eggy as like other guitarists, I've never been one for wanting to write with someone just because it's not the way I do it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because my own like insecurity. I don't feel I am, because I'm quite open about the fact that I don't see myself as a good guitarist. I'm like a songwriter that uses chords to make that song. But with you, the amount of times in that short space of time we just sat like working on like you doing fucking cool sounds around my chords and the acoustic sessions we played, I think we found a kind of a bit of a match now. And I'm not limiting you to like being my backup guy, not at all. Like you're an amazing songwriter in your own right, and I hope you know what I mean by that. But I mean, for the songs that we composed, your style just clicked in with me so well, and it didn't need to be shreddies. That's not what Wolves would ever have been. It was like it's textures, and it's like little like notes to accentuate the chords, because the chords I play are quite full chords, so it's not trying to battle with that. It's trying to like add key bits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, complement each other.
And that's kind of what the whole process has been for me. Is kind of in a way unlearning what lead guitarists are supposed to do. Because I grew up listening to bands like Led Zeppelin and Metallica, thinking like, oh, if I ever learn lead guitar, I need to be that fucking good.
Yeah, I need to sweep.
yeah. I mean, I've nailed that now, obviously.
Oh, of course.
No, it's. I don't know. I think this is the right kind of music for me to explore lead guitar, because it is about textures and it's about being really nerdy about what pedals can do, at the same time as like not letting the voice of the pedal talk too loudly.
100%, man.
As a band, it's just about, I don't know, cutting all the external stuff out the way and just playing music.
I remember being in the studio for the first time with you, and I'm away to ask everybody here, because we're now getting on to things that we can all answer in terms of this lineup. But do you remember that? I tagged you in it the other day for your birthday, but I don't know if you saw it. It's that Always Be Mine, like that little lick you play over.
Yeah.
So nice. It was just like we were sitting there and the sun was setting in the studio. It was your first time in with us, and you were a bit worried that all I've got for lead is and you were like worried that this wasn't enough. And I was just telling you, like, as I said a minute ago, I'm not like arrogant with music. I am not a musician. I don't even know a fucking chord. I just memorize shit. But one thing I am good at
instrumentalist.
I'm a mentalist. But the one thing I'm good at is I can hear a whole fucking symphony in my head with just a vocal idea, right? So I knew what it was going to sound like, but I knew you weren't sure yet. And then you played that and we could hear everything with it. And Bruce had this nice kind of live mix. And I remember we all finished that and you just turned around and we were all just sitting like, wow, that sounds fucking lush. Lush is the only word for it, you know?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So yeah, that takes us kind of smoothly onto like what's everyone in this version. So I guess what was we didn't really put this out as an EP, and it's something I want to maybe look into because it'll be a wee gap until we do an album again. But it's maybe there's a lot of people ask why our stuff's not on vinyl, so maybe putting the Haunt Me EP on one side, and then we recorded, what was it, 3 or 4 we recorded?
It was
3. It's recorded
3, yeah. 3, yeah.
So you could have kind of, that's 8 tracks. We could do a 4 and 4. But kind of what on this 3-track kind of, it's not an EP, but kind of an EP. What's everyone's kind of favorite kind of studio vibes or memories, or any one point that you just thought this is class? Or
I remember when we were all doing we were doing gang vocals for I'd guess it would be I Wish Forever Was Today.
Yes.
Yeah. All of us were in the live room doing gang vocals. And I remember you, Kyle, saying, I'm still having to get used to hearing someone else's voice in here, because usually all I hear is Rob. which is obviously a good thing. And I'm sure what you meant by that is that you're just used to that, because it's been such a long time that you and Rob have been making music together.
Yeah.
And then I'm obviously coming in, having been a singer before, and bringing this different side of things that you weren't used to.
Definitely,
I don't know.
Man.
That was just one of my stronger moments of feeling like, okay, I'm in this band. Like I'm actually adding something, which is a good feeling.
Yeah, man.
Fucking A, man.
100%.
I remember that time round in the studio for me was actually quite short-lived, because I remember I could only be around for the first couple of days for tracking the drums, and I unfortunately couldn't make it. It was really close to Christmas, and I had lots of stuff to do with the family, and I wasn't there when you guys were doing your parts. But those 2 songs, I remember recording them and being like, they were the most challenging songs for me to record in terms of what I played in my drums before. Just doing loads of more technical pieces and really, like, I don't know, honing in on a more technical aspect to drums that I'd never seen or played before, especially with Kuji Wuji. That stuff was like so simple. And then the first EP, Playing with the Wolves, I think having like pre-production with Bruce, he's always like, never overplay, which is I think I always quite like to show off quite a lot when I was playing my drums previously. So this I really got a chance to, I don't know, play a different side of things and really try to, I don't know, it was just a bit more technical, but just difficult to play, but challenge myself at the same time. It was really nice. If that makes any sense at all.
Totally, man. No, I think
it does, but it's surprising to hear that it was challenging, because like I was shocked at how you just, with some of them, I remember only just a couple of takes, and we were all sitting in the mixing room, just kind of saying like, that might be it already. He's only done it 3 times, and that might be it for that track.
Yeah, Andy's a mate. Like, yeah, when he records, again, we've been so blessed, and I think, Rob, I'm kind of speaking to you on this one, but I've been so blessed by all the musicians in this. I was saying in the very first episode that, like, I've heard people over the years say, oh, we have to get rid of this guy because he wasn't showing up to practices, and this guy wasn't doing his thing in the studio. We've never, ever had any musician that didn't just go, yeah, I might not be paid like a professional, but I fucking act like a professional. Like I keep saying, please don't mistake what I'm saying as like, oh, I'm shit at guitar. No, I'm fucking class at Weekend from Wolves guitar. Like, you won't beat someone that can play my songs better than me. That's how it should be. But like, when we go in the studio, you bet your ass I'm going to nail things mostly first take and then double take them and see it as a bit of competition to be done fucking first. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But yeah, I'm just not going to be able to play any like G chord or fucking tapping or like I'm fucking out. There's the guitar. But like, when we've got everyone else in this band, like the level of dedication has been class. No one's ever fucked about in the studio. Everyone's been fucking class, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's a product, I think of what you said. You bring people into that environment. You only bring those people that have got that.
Yeah. Also, I remember that moment. It was in Always Be Mine when we figured out that if we could down tune the bottom string and play the whole riff on one string, it would sound so beefy.
Yeah.
And it took just a couple of practices, and I just went for it. Mm-hmm. And it was very satisfying. Yeah. I mean, always having been a kind of a metal kid at heart, it really felt good to just play a whole riff on one down-tuned string. That felt really good.
I've got to say, when people ask like, what's your favourite song to play, there's not many of our songs that, like, for me, I think are that interesting to play. But the mixture of like the chords that I play and then that riff, I mean, I'm proud of that riff. It's interesting, but also heavy as fuck. Like, it's a wee bit like, weird, but like I think that tune is fucking one of my favourite Weekend from Wolves tunes. Always Be Mine.
Yeah, I agree.
It's up there, 100%. Rob, do you remember much from that? I know, like, again, you were like Andy. It was quite a quick recording session. The pair of yous were only there the Friday, Saturday, I think. But obviously you've been there for every single Wolves recording. So even in terms of the songs, what was your kind of impression of how things were moving? Obviously, we all wrote them together for sure, but like when we were in the studio.
I think it was probably the most difficult recordings that we've done as a band. Obviously, I've been there for all of them, so I can kind of say that with a bit of conviction. There was a lot of shit going on. Like me personally, man, like I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, like breakdown in relationships, new jobs, all that sort of thing. So I wasn't in kind of a good place myself. But in terms of like the songs were incredible. It's just just had so much like extra noise going on in my life that I just felt like I couldn't like enjoy it as much as the other times I've been there. So even though like the finished product and the songs are some of the strongest Wolves songs we've got, just for me it's always a bit of a bittersweet kind of moment, because kind of everything was falling apart outside of the band, but in the band it was going from strength to strength in terms of like the music and that. So
what does that mean for you when you like listen to them? Does that bring back all the pain of that time? Do they become relevant to you? This is a genuine question, or because I asked that in the first one with Taylor and Harrison. I asked a question that I've never asked before. I was like, I've never been in a band where I've not been the vocalist or lyricist. So when I listen to like As Cities Burn or Under Oath or shit like that, I take my own meaning onto those lyrics. And I asked Harrison and Taylor, like, do you do that with even Wolf songs? Is it different when it's like your mate? And they said, no, it is, because unless you ask someone what the lyrics mean, you're going to make up your own meanings. So did you just kind of block out that period, or did you do you listen to those songs but associate them with that kind of painful period?
Yeah, I mean, I think, going back to the other sessions and that, I definitely, because, we obviously talk about like your lyrics and that, and you're an incredible lyricist, and your lyrics are obviously very personal to you. You never really write about kind of general stuff, which I think is to your credit, man. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You write very relatable stuff. But what I maybe relate to your lyrics is maybe different to what you mean. But in that period, definitely, they're some of my favourite Wolves songs. And probably what I associate with them is probably different to what the lyrics mean to you when you wrote them. But yeah, it's definitely like a very cathartic process to listen to those songs, just how kind of like visceral and raw they are, man, like compared to some of the other Wolves stuff. But obviously I'm in a great place now, and I still, it's probably lame to say, but I had to stop listening to like Wolves stuff on Spotify because it would always show up in my end of year stuff, and you can't be sharing that, can you? So I just listen to Bandcamp now. But yeah, I listen to our stuff.
Your top countries: Russia, France, Rob's house.
Yeah, but I mean, I listen to those songs all the time, and even though I wasn't in a great place back then, listening to them, it's still like amazing memories. For me, being on tour, being in the studio is like the best part of being in a band.
100%.
So yeah, like I just love kind of listening to them, and yeah, like I do relate different things to the lyrics, and it's good to kind of like remember how you were feeling back then, and you can attribute those lyrics to a different kind of part of your life. And you look back, and like with kind of all experiences you've gone through, you learn from them. They make you stronger. They make you a better person. They don't control you. They don't own you or anything like that. So yeah, I've obviously learned a lot, man. I know that's quite a deep answer.
I love that.
But,
I love that,
man.
It's pretty amazing considering, like, if there's anything else I took from the whole experience was what I love about being in the studio is just watching other people do their parts, because I think you don't really get to do that much of the time. So when you're writing stuff, you're thinking so much about how you can contribute, and when you're playing on stage, you're just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about nailing the songs, putting on a good show. You're not really paying attention to other people. But in the studio, I got to watch all of you do your thing for the first time, and totally. It's pretty wild to hear that you were. I knew that you were going through a tough time, but to be reminded of that at the same time as remembering that you also were nailing takes, and it was really nice to just watch like high caliber musicians do their thing, and that, keeping in mind that you were going through a tough time, is, I don't know, that's worth celebrating, I think.
Yeah, 100%, man. I echo that, and I thank you for that answer, Rob. I think that's class. I think something I've always like kind of subscribed to, and I don't know if I heard this off someone else or it's just a simple thing that I said myself, but as soon as like we finished a song, obviously it's all of our song, but then lyrically, like my lyrics, as soon as they put them out there, they're no longer just mine. But I think that's a great thing. And the fact that when I hear someone, and I don't honestly, like, believe me, I'm admitting that I've got an ego. I love it when people say, oh, what a great song that was. And of course I do. But literally not in an ego way. When someone says, oh, this song means this to me, and it's their own thing, that's not an ego thing. That just to me means, right, well, something I've put out in the world. And all of us, Andy laid the drums in it, Callum laid the guitar in it, Rob laid the bass in it, I wrote the words for it. Something we've put out there will live on with that person forever, because it doesn't matter how long ago I heard some random song that's on my Spotify playlists. It means something to me. So that's fucking immortal. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's pretty special. And another thing that as musicians we get that everyone else who isn't a musician doesn't get. And that's a real privilege, I think. You know, that's something to savor. So, yeah, I think it's fucking cool to hear that you do take your own meanings from that, Rob. That's not like you saying it's maybe not what you meant. Well, it doesn't matter what I meant. When it's out there, it's for anyone's interpretation, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know, man. I mean, like, I remember on the other episodes of this when we talked about being at, Loch Fyne and recording the album and that, man, like, just even like the song names, we never really like had finished lyrics or kind of heard the lyrics when we were demoing them instrumentally. Just like the song names, like, just had like such deep meanings to me already, and it was like, wow. And then you hear the actual lyrics, and as like somebody who kind of obviously writes his own stuff and his own lyrics and that, not in any way, trying to compare that to the Wolves at all. But yeah, you kind of get that insight, don't you, into like a kind of writer, and I've always felt that, and not just kind of with you, with anyone else in a band, whether that's some of my other closest pals or even like huge international bands and that, I just always take my own meaning from lyrics, and it's such a powerful thing, isn't it? To be able to kind of write something and have someone else take their own interpretation and have it mean so much. Then, man, it's what a gift that is.
100%, man. Eh? Nice wee byproduct. Totally. So again, the kind of choices are limited only because, and again, we'll get to what's in store and what we've been working on behind the scenes pretty soon. But in terms of, it's only going to be those three. But what would be your favourite songs, or what do you feel kind of defines the period that us three have been in together from those recordings? Again, like in other lineups, we've maybe had like 8 or an album or a 6-track EP to choose from, but it's 3 songs. But still, yeah, the question is relevant, so everyone will have their favourite and why. Where's Andy gone?
Oh, disappeared.
So Andy got an atomic hard on and the Skype failed there. So.
Oh no, you've all fucking paused.
You've paused. I've not paused anywhere.
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah, you have paused, Andy. Oh wait, he's back. Yes, he's back.
Fucking Andy and his hard-ons. What's going on, man?
I mean, it's Dundee,
I'm back.
A second-rate city there, mate.
Andy, are you okay?
Oh no, he's gone.
Oh, man. No, he's on the ceiling.
Jesus Christ. Right.
I need to stop recording on this potato, man. Jesus Christ. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, the new Apple fucking 8. A lot.
1G.
Right. Andy, we're okay a minute ago. You're fine. Stay where you are. Stay where you are.
Okay, I'm not moving. I ain't moving.
Don't touch anything. Just leave it.
This
Right.
is so stressful, man.
Right. Just
go, right, we back, baby. We back.
Have a talk and chill.
Fire away with your questions, man.
Right. So, song that defines this lineup that's out there in public. I know we've got like 20, if you're talking just loose demos, maybe 30 in the pipeline. But from the 3 that's recorded, I know it's a small number, but what's your vibes on those 3 we recorded? Because, sorry to interject again, there's only 3 there, but I know 4 people, that's not a lot to big bands, but 4 people, have messaged me with their Spotify thing of the last year, and, some of those tracks from those 3 releases are in there, and they've said how much that means to them. I'm not going to, shame them here, but reasons why that meant something to them. We've always said, and I don't think anyone would be in this band if they didn't believe it, one person in that crowd loves your stuff and has a real deep reason for loving it. That's enough for me. So these songs definitely hit a note with people.
Yeah.
I'll start if you want. So keep close. Obviously, I don't care about getting deep or not. That's fine. But so my dad passed away quite suddenly, and there was a bit of a block for me on everything. So I didn't want to do music. I also didn't want to do really anything. And I guess we're adding that into, we didn't have too much done in these years. That could probably be a contributing factor as well, to be honest. That was probably at least 6 months where I just, you guys weren't saying, when are we practicing? Obviously you knew what was going on, but I just had no desire to really do anything either. And I remember I finally you never finally get out of that. That shit lives with you forever. But unfortunately it happens to everybody. We're all going to lose people. Unfortunately, that's life. And we need to understand that, be ready for it, and savor the days we do have with everyone we love. But I remember when I was finally kind of getting out of that, everything's doom and gloom headspace, I was going to take myself off to Rannoch, where I do a lot of the Wolves writing through a family friend. I've got a wee cottage in the Highlands with fucking no one around, and you've all been out there to kind of have a wee party with us as well.
I love it, man.
Oh, amazing. So I was saying to Callum, I was like, right, I need to get myself an acoustic guitar because I've been borrowing Rob's to do some writing. There's no amps up there, and the acoustic I've got is fucking shite. It's uninspiring. It's just a piece of shit. So we went to Guitar and spoke with our good friend Blaine, who plays in Vasa and who works there, and he was talking us through them. And I know Rob had a beautiful Takamine, so I played a wee Takamine. And I was actually split between a couple of guitars, and you preferred one, Callum, because it had a bit better on the picking notes, but for the chords, I preferred this one. And I remember I just played, which happens so much to me when I write songs, whether it's vocally or just in my head, or sometimes with the chords. I remember I just started playing these chords, and I was like, fuck me, bring out my phone, hit voice memo. And then I went to the cabin the next day and started playing that song, and then just started singing over it. And it was the very first version of Melodies I sung. And then I started writing the lyrics for it out in the sunshine in this garden with a few beers on my own, no one else around for miles. And it was this most freeing thing ever. And then when I went to demo that song that night, I was singing all the lyrics, which ended up being the final lyrics. So it was all done in the space 24 hours. And the first time when I was screaming the words in the background at the end of the song, which are all there for everyone on Spotify to hear if they want to know what they are. That's quite a good wee promotional plug there. It's pulling on the heartstrings, getting the 0.33% per listen to my heartbreak on Spotify. And it was the first time I'd ever fucking cried while singing. And I remember that wasn't a crying because I was I was in pain. Of course I was in pain. I'd lost my dad, but it wasn't, I'd had tears of pain for a month and a bit. It was a fucking plug getting taken out. It was wow, this is what I needed to say to him,
Yeah.
And I've made no secret about the fact that I follow no organized religion, but I feel him closer to me that since he left Whether that's because I want to or whether because that's something real, who knows? Doesn't really matter. I feel him there. And when I was singing those songs, I'd walked around the park for nights and nights after he died, talking to him. And but this song was like, in 3 minutes, all I needed to say. No like long fucking 40-minute talks waffling about like, oh, wish I'd phoned you one last time and that. He would have been like, what the fuck? Are you bothered about a phone call, you fucking dafty? Do you know what I mean? Like, that was concise, and that was just saying everything I needed to say. So yeah, I couldn't look at those 3 songs and not say "Keep Close" for me, basically.
Yeah, and what I really appreciated was that your demo version of that song that you sent to all of us was that exact version, when it obviously really hit you towards the end. And I don't know if it's just me, but it definitely got me pretty emotional to listen to. And
it's so raw, isn't it? You know what I mean? So
I don't know. In a way, I feel like that kind of defines what my relationship with this band actually is that in a lot of ways I don't even really think about it that much as a musical thing. It's just like, you were a close friend of mine. You'd gone through this difficult time. This was your way of expressing it. And I just kind of wanted to do that some justice in a way. Mm-hmm. So the 4 of us getting together, kind of putting parts together, making that song happen, felt more, I don't know, it just felt like more of a friendship thing than a band thing compared to the way that I'm used to it.
Yeah, I don't think we ever pushed that one. We didn't push that one like commercially. Like, I think it's a great song as well, but I think we all just kind of held that. It was just like, what will be with that one, because it didn't feel right to be like, check out the new single from Weekend Rules. It's like, here's this song, have a listen if you want, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of why you did like a lyric video instead of like, you know, a big show and dance performance kind of video. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah, we all decided that, didn't we? We all wanted to do, we've said this in every chat as well, like, you know, if money was no object, I love doing the videos. I always have great ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I had like my director hat on, if you like. I had ideas for that video, but I said to you, boys, here's some ideas I've got. I was like, but if I'm being honest, and I'm not putting pressure on you because it's your band as well, you've paid for this recording as well. But for me, it just seems a wee bit disingenuous. I think it should just be the lyrics. And I told you about a wee story about, you know, after he had died, like a few nights later. Maybe I haven't told all he is. I don't know if here's the place to say it. I'm fine to say it, but there was some static going on that shouldn't go on. Like, I've done tests since because I was like, can I replicate that? And it's not possible. And that's why the lyric video is like static on a TV. And then I read a lot into like afterlife and stuff like that, and it's like energy and the way they communicate through like frequency and stuff like that. The long and short of it was, we came back after having spent the week, me and Nick, my wife, we'd spent some time being back home, seeing the family and stuff, dealing with what we needed to deal with. And I came back and I really couldn't be fucked doing anything, but I was like, I'll play the Xbox, because what the fuck else am I going to do? Just sit on the couch again for like, it's been too long. I was like, I'll try and get back into something that I enjoy. I was just sitting playing it and stuff, and the whole TV, it was playing Destiny on the Xbox, a good wee shooter game, like space age shooter game, and the whole TV went white noise. I was like, right, well, that can happen if a cable's come loose at the back. Obviously, we've all played Xbox. I've played Xbox. Like, I'm not trying to invent ways to like say my dad's communicating with me. Like, people watching this will be like, come on to fuck. All I can say is what happened, right? So I've been playing Xbox a lot of years. I've never had like white static, but not had to maybe put something back in. So that happened for a while, and I sat looking at it, and then I got up to go and do it, and it just went back to the game. And then I sat back down and I went, what the fuck? And Nick came through and she sat beside me, and I said, you all right? And she went, yeah, you okay? And I went, yeah, I'm fine. She went, I don't want to say this because it might upset you. And I said, no, just tell me. She's like, well, I was just watching a show on my iPad, and I was thinking about your dad. And obviously I was thinking about my dad the whole time I was playing. And she's like, when I was thinking about my Netflix on my iPad went all white static. and just cut out. And I didn't know what to do. And then it just came back on. And I went, that's just happened to my Xbox as well. And you know, it's just one of these. There's a lot of wee things that happened, and I could go into them in more detail with all yous over a beer. Loads of wee things, but you know, I didn't have to plug anything in. I went and checked everything. It was all in fine. I was just like, just wee things like that. You know, it's just like, and that was just the inspiration for me. It was like that keep close video. It's just the static. It's just the energy in the room. It's not a fucking tangible thing. You know.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. I mean, for me, that's my favourite Weekend from Wolf song. Well, not give everyone a sneak peek, but there's one new song that's going to come out that will be my new favourite Wolf song. But that out of the songs we've released, man, it just means so much, And like, you know, you can just hear like how raw it is, how much emotion is poured into that song. And for me, obviously, you know, being like a big emo guy and that's the music I love, man. You know, I want to hear. You know, people's hearts on their sleeve and that. Yeah, exactly. You know, you've all seen the pictures of that great emo fringe that I rocked for about 40 years.
We've all been there, man.
We've all done
exactly. It. So you know what I mean? That for me is just everything that the Wolves is about. You know, it's raw, it's real, it's honest, and it's hey, there he is. I was nearly 30 in that picture as well, man. Look how young I look. That's why I grew the beard, because I was.
You were nearly 30 at that point.
Jesus, man. Yeah. Is that like this? Is that the straightened fringe as well? Did you go through that stage?
I did, mate. You know it. B&B, the straighteners. So I mean, that song, Keep Close, man. I could just love it. You know, and I think it's like all credit to you, Kyle, as well. Like one that you can convey the feelings that are inside and get them out. But two, you know, the fact that you've been, you know, kind of humble enough to do that, man, and not be like that. Oh no, I better not say this. I don't want people to think less of me, or I don't want people to know too much about me. You know, kind of all those feelings you go through when you're a writer and stuff. And I just love how honest it is, man. It's just such a beautiful tribute, really.
I don't know if I can take credit for that, man, because I really have been brought up to, honest to God, not give a fuck what people think, to be honest. So, I mean, I appreciate. I do take the compliment about like the song and that. I appreciate that, man. But yeah, it's never been a problem for me to say what I want to say. If folk have got issue with that, like, enjoy yourself, you know.
I think that's kind of like a vein that's running through this band to some extent. Like on a very different kind of level, felt that same way when we went on that first tour together, which I'm sure we'll get to later on. Yeah. But I had joined the band. We practiced once maybe, and then went on a tour. And one of the first nights of that tour when we got to Europe was in Germany, and that was the day of my granddad's funeral. Mm-hmm. And not to keep the mood all the way down here, but no, it is relevant to me, and I think that's this feels like a band where you can genuinely just kind of work through what's going on in your real life at the same time as being in the band without having to put on this show of like, oh well, we're in a fucking rock band, we're playing shows, we're touring Europe, all that sort of thing. None of that matters. And so one of my best moments was being on that tour, and you'd raise a glass to my granddad on that tour, and that will always mean a lot to me. So I don't know, I guess what I'm really saying is like those moments seem to inform a lot of what this band's kind of message is, in a way. I think like we can just talk about this stuff and there's nothing wrong with that.
And of course there's nothing wrong with that, man. Like people who think there's something wrong with that, like that's the reason that men kill themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a fucking archaic fucking mindset that is literally killing our species and the men in our species. So that's an old school thing that would never have a place in any of my friends. I would encourage them all to fucking be open, and you might not be able to solve the problem, but you'll definitely be there to share at least a bit of it with them. You can't take the weight, but you can help them to carry it a wee bit. But I remember that, and again, it's gutting that you weren't on that tour, Rob, but that was literally a logistical thing. It was like the worst winter ever, and the tour was nearly called off, and we still went ahead with it, and we managed to get Taylor there because he was in Perth. and legend that he has managed to learn your tunes, because they're not fucking easy bass parts to play. But yeah, that was a beautiful tour, and that night Callum's talking about, you know, I guess that was the theme of the night. So Callum had, you know, come on tour. His granddad's funeral was going to be happening, and he really struggled with, should I be in Aberdeen at the funeral or should I go on this tour? And I just remember saying to Callum, and it was hard to get the message across, because obviously it could have been construed as, you know, he'd want you to be on tour because I don't want to fucking cancel the tour. But obviously, that, knowing me, that was not the angle. It was like, man, if you've got to duck out of this, you've got to duck out of this. We'll play without a lead guitarist. We'll make it work. But I don't know your granddad, but I know who you are. And I know you couldn't be who you are unless people had brought you up. And I'm pretty sure he'd be like, this opportunity, or sit in a fucking cold fucking frozen church, man. You don't need to be there. Like, that's the biggest thing. I didn't go and see my dad's body because it didn't matter. You know, the body is just a fucking clothes that is left behind. It's the spirit, it's the memories, it's the love. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I was pretty confident. And I said that to you. I went, if I'm off the mark, do what you need to do, man. You were like, no. That's exactly what he would say. I went, sweet, we'll fucking pack your bags. We're going to Germany. Do you know what I mean? And I remember we were sat in where was it? That guy who had the whiskey for us.
That was in Hildesheim.
Hildesheim, man.
So he was kind of, he was kind of like the guy in Oberhausen, Rob. He had white long hair. Yeah. But he had a bit of tash.
Total dude.
Yeah, and he said, so we played, and it was like Karlsruhe, Rob. We had this room set up. You'll have seen the videos and that, but we had a place we were staying, and it was just so chill, and we were playing a gig, and everyone was so lovely, and we finished the gig and we got back, and it was just like all these fresh breads. You know how the Germans do it, all this beer. And he came in and he went, do you guys mind if I join you for a whiskey? And we went, no, of course, man. You've brought us here. You've paid us this. You've given us all this accommodation. Yeah. Amazing. And he brought out this Aberfeldy Perthshire whiskey. And I thought, has he done this? Has he done his research? And he says, my mother was Scottish. She was from Perthshire. And we went, hell. And we went, oh my God.
Sit down.
I went, that's where we're from, the county. And he started crying and he went, I'm sorry. And we went, what's wrong? And he went, hearing your Scottish accent. He was just staring at us when we'd speak. Like, you know when someone's looking right in your eyes? They're not really...
Yeah, like right to your soul, man.
It's not even like they're listening to what you're saying. And then he was like, I'm so sorry. And there was tears in his eyes. And he was like a rocker dude. And we went, I'm so sorry, but when you guys speak, I remember my mother. And she would speak in Scottish, and my dad was German. I mean, the age he was, it was probably a war thing. Probably a guy had stayed over. Yeah. Or something. You know, they weren't all bad guys. They were just
POW, man. There was a lot of, County Bragan and stuff. That was a 100%. POW camp.
So he was like, exactly, Perthshire. So he's like, I loved your music today. He's like, we've been hosting bands here for 27 years. You're the first band from Scotland. My mother was from Scotland. And so we just sat and got fucking ripped with him. We drank the whole bottle of whiskey. Callum brought out his bottle of whiskey to toast his granddad. We drank that thing. Eating and drinking all night. And we must have been going till like 4 or 5 in the morning. It was just one of those unreal nights that, like, it's almost like a movie or a video game cutaway scene where it seems like it was like forever. It was like...
The sound engineer came out at one point just rolling massive joints as well. We're like, oh my God, it's getting to that time of night, boys. I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah. Do you remember we got shots live on stage as well? We're playing and they all came up with a tray, and I was like, I'm playing guitar, and they just put it to my mouth. I was like...
I legitimately do not remember that. No memory.
It wasn't Jaeger, it was Wurzer, Peter.
Oh, yeah, that's it. The fucking better stuff as well, man.
Peter of the Woods, that's what it's called. Peter of the Woods, it's how we know him. I've got a bottle through here for a reunion night, and I've not drunk it still.
Shit in the bed, so you do, man. Morgan Day.
I don't fuck up, I promise. I told you boys, when we're all together again, we'll drink that Wurzel, Peter.
100%, man.
Anytime 100%. I've had people up at the flat, they're going, oh, should we shot this? I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah, nine. What was the game that we kept playing on the fucking iPad? What was that called?
Dungeons and Dragons or something like that.
It was adjacent to that kind of world, but
I was going to say, if Taylor was there, it'll be Dungeons and Dragons or something of that ilk, won't it?
Man, we're just gonna have a complete nerd night and have some of that nice juice. Get on it, man. As soon as you're home, Callum, man, of course. But
yeah. So in these other chats, I've asked things like, why didn't it continue, and is there any regrets, or what was the best moments? But as I said, we'll get to in a wee bit that this isn't the end. I definitely can't say a date when we're going to start ramping things up again. But a hiatus is. I used to think hiatus just meant people were quitting until they got an offer for a big money kind of reunion. I now realise hiatus just means like there's a pause. We don't know when it's going to end, but it's not ended yet, So I'm going to bypass those kind of questions, but there might not be one. I don't know, but what is there a proudest Wolves memory for kind of this period for any of you?
I wouldn't say there's like a single moment, to be honest with you, man. Again, like for me, getting the opportunity to tour anywhere with your buddies is just incredible, man. And for me, I've spoken to you all in depth about this before. I'm a very anxious kind of guy, and I personally struggle being away for it can be a week sometimes, and even when you're with your closest buds, it can still be quite difficult because you're on the road 24/7 with these guys. But going away, especially in the last 2 European tours that I've done, have both been incredible because you're playing to audiences which, these places you would never even get to visit half the time in your life, man. So when you're with your pals playing music to guys that really appreciate what you're doing, it's just incredible. So I think it might be quite a cliche answer, but the opportunity just to tour has just been incredible.
100%, man. Yeah.
I think for me, man, like getting Callum into the band, I know that's going to sound like maybe like a soft answer or maybe like a lame one, but you'll know yourself, Cal, man. We've been through like a lot of lineup changes over the years, and like you say, it's never been because there's been like a fallout or like a fight or anything like that. But and we've all played in a lot of bands before where if a lineup changes or someone leaves, that usually signals the end of the band. So there's always that kind of apprehension or anxiety when someone leaves. Like, fuck, is this the end of the journey, man? Is this the end of the road? Something we've poured our heart and souls into for years and years. Is this where it ends? And then to find kind of Callum, we already obviously knew him as well because it was, it was the hardest choice we've ever had to make, and between you and Brian, man, and when we knew you were still, interested in the band and still wanted to join and stuff, it was like fucking brilliant. We can still do what we love to do, and it was like a fresh chapter, and all the excitement, all the kind of like the positive vibes and that were there again, man. So yeah, for me, you joining, and I think for me, like one of the biggest regrets ever is not being able to go on that tour, man. And looking back now, I wish I'd have just kind of quit my job, quit everything, and done all that I could to get on there. But
I know,
things
man.
happen for a reason, don't they? And
I know you'll find that. I know you'll think that way, man. But like, it's just not feasible, is it? Like, I quit one job for that first 2012 tour we did, but like, you're a manager at that job and stuff, and you were going through a hard time. And I saw that the tour before that when we were in Europe. I'm not going to get into any details and disrespect anyone that I didn't know or anything like that, but you were under pressure that was like taking you out of the room to fucking have to respond to people in like the middle of the night, and it just wasn't a good atmosphere for you, man. I've seen that in people before, and it wasn't fair to you, and it was hard. I kind of feel like maybe this is getting like fucking Wolves counselling, so he's getting bang for your buck here, by the way.
It's like a Metallica documentary, yeah, man. They're all going to start greeting us.
Except we can play our own fucking instruments, eh? But seriously, I sometimes think like maybe I should have done more to like take you aside and be like, mate, this is not good for you. But you don't want to overstep the mark and fall out as friends either. So you need to let people go in their own path. All I'll say, long and short of it, is I fucking guarantee you, we will go to Europe again.
100%.
I'm not saying it's only going to be one time, but even if it is one time and we know it and we savor it, this band will record, we'll get to it in a second, spoiler alert, there's going to be another album, It's going to be the best shit we've ever done. And we will tour again, and we'll do things on our own terms. So you don't need to have regrets, mate. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, like that's what's driving me forward. You know what I mean? In terms of like the band and that, just knowing that we're gonna get to go on tour again and get to just make amazing memories and make amazing music and that. And as lame as people watching this for the first time might think like, who the fuck's this guy? Like, what's he on about, man? Like, but no, definitely, being on tour as a musician is one of the best feelings ever. You're a gang. You're going on tour with your brothers. You're living 24/7. You're experiencing new cultures, seeing new places, and I think what's really good about this as well is like you mentioned some of the places we've been to, like Oberhausen, Glauchau, Arnhem, and that. You would never pick these places.
No.
You would never say to your friends, your wife, your girlfriend, your family, let's go to Arnhem on holiday. You would never experience these cultures, seen these places, met these people if it wasn't for like playing music, which is like an incredibly powerful thing.
And how amazing is it when you get to these places and you meet people and you're like, they're so like me, but they're so different. But like, just guys in the bands I've met, and like guys like Jasper and Perish and stuff, and it's like, yeah, we're all totally different. We've all got total different lives, like culturally, like the Dutch and the French and the Scottish and the German. We've all got different histories and schooling and all that. But we could all just fucking, after 4 hours together, hug it out and be friends for fucking life. It's fucking madness.
Yeah.
The world is sold on all these differences and political fucking agendas. End of the day, boys and girls just want to fucking be with good people. And that's why touring has 100% made me optimistic on the world. That the bad shit that happens is a minority, but it barks a lot louder than how many good fucking folk there are. Remember we drove through, Rob, this was that tour unfortunately as well, but we drove through, we were leaving Prague and we were on the way to Germany, and I think, my geography is not amazing, I know generally, but I think we were driving through Slovakia or something, and we went to this wee petrol station, and a guy's like, hey guys, what are you, a band or something? Because it was like 6 of us coming out of a van, we obviously weren't Slovakian. And they were like, yes, actually. I was like, oh, fucking cool. What are you, a rock band? And it was like this like proper in the country, like could have been in America or something. Like,
I mind it.
and I was like, yeah, we are. He was like, fucking cool. You got like CDs or merch or something? We're like, yeah. So we gave him T-shirts and CDs. He went, fucking take what you want. So we're like, just taking like snacks, juice. I think Andy got some ciggies. We took some beers. Yeah. How much? He was like, no, fucking for free, man.
Yeah, it's
like, where the fuck would this happen? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you imagine that's what it's all about, man?
That's actually a similar moment. It's actually when we were on my first European tour with Brian, and we went to the football stadium, right? What was that?
Yeah, Westfalen.
Dortmund.
Yeah, Dortmund. Aye, and we just left, and we saw all our lanyards around our neck, and we were driving through like a motorway, and obviously in Germany they have like the random police just stopping vehicles.
Twice.
Yeah, so they pulled us over, and I was driving. They're like, have you guys got your insurance documents and stuff? Like, nah, it's just our pal's dad's van. Like, he's just letting us borrow it for the week. He's like, no, if you come to Germany, you obviously have to have.
For you guys, this is a problem, big problem.
Yeah.
Well, that was some fast talking for Rab there. Like, I got in that situation.
But then he spotted the lanyards, and he was like, "You guys like Dortmund?" And we're like, "Yeah, totally, our favorite team, bro." And they're like, "Okay."
Definitely, man. Don't mention the blue team.
Yeah,
totally.
Amazing, man.
But there's something about like when you're on tour and you get welcomed into someone's home as well. That's pretty special. Like, I definitely feel a strange level of connection with the guys in Perish and Jasper in Arnhem. Like, I really hardly know these guys. I only went on one tour. I only met these guys once, but that meant a lot.
Where's Andy gone?
I must have gone to the toilet, or his internet's gubbed. You can hear you, mate. We can't see you.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
No,
beautiful.
Hello. I'm exactly the same. Obviously, I've been to tour with them 4 or 5 times now, but even since the first time, I mean, they came to my wedding, and Jasper, like, I want to get over to Holland and again with the band, but also want to take Nick to Arnhem just to like meet Jasper and see that place, because just such good people. But like literally, and this is no like disrespect to them, like I would say to them vice versa, they're amazing people, but we can't just be so lucky in this life that we only meet the best people in the world. I think what we're seeing is this is what people are like. That's what I mean. This is most people, and that is not in a fucking percentage taking their amazingness down, because they're amazing people. I think there's just amazing people everywhere, and literally that doesn't make the news. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that doesn't sell, does it, man?
People are really awesome. Don't worry about anything. All right, sweet. I'll just turn the telly off.
Life is beautiful. Do enjoy yourself. No, it's like right, fear, 100%. The world is a horrible place.
By the way, just get yourself to Europe. Doesn't matter where you stay. You'll meet some fucking class folk. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need to spend money in the hotels, and you don't need to fucking subscribe to fucking wars and the news and all that. Just turn off. Aye, that's not very profitable though, is it?
I know.
I think one of the best bands that we got to play with as well, in terms of like the actual boys in the band, mine's Sidewalk, the guys that we played with in Arnhem.
Yeah.
I speak to those guys quite regularly as well, man. Just lovely, lovely lads.
Yeah. That was that the last night of the European tour?
Yeah. It was,
that night was.
Oh, just get the ferry back again. Outside Amsterdam.
Yeah.
That was what a game changer that is, by the way.
Oh man,
wake up in Newcastle, brilliant.
That was the day when we were steaming, like, because we'd had a late kind of checkout, if you like, from Jasper's, and we were driving to fucking Rotterdam ferry, and I was just on the beers because, like, spoiler alert, anywhere you play in Europe just give you like 10 crates of fucking beer and tell you, let them know when you're finished. You're like, what? We sold at King Tut's 3 times. I've got 7 Carlsbergs. You know what I mean?
I know. I wish I'd joined this band saying that I can drive, man.
Christ. And so we got to the ferry and I was like steaming. It was like 4 PM. And this guy with an AK fucking 47 like opens the door. He's like, "How are you doing? You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm sound, mate. Yeah." He's like, "Open the door so I can see inside." And I opened the door. All these fucking full beers. I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man, sorry." I was like, "Let me sweep that up." And he's like, "Don't fucking worry. Just get back in the fucking van. On you go." I was like, "Holland,
you came from? Well, you guys use party time."
Yeah, white privilege.
I guess so. Yeah. So yeah, man, fucking. I guess it's time to talk about what's next, because we're not fucking giving up here. We've had a pandemic. We've had a year off. So I guess the wee update for everyone is, because we've not really posted about it online because it's quite gammy to do it so early, but we had a bunch of demos, and not just like really basic demos. At the start of the pandemic, I got Andy to do the drums for, about 18 songs? More than that?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Wasn't it?
At least 18. I gave him the kind of demos. We'd done some of them as live demos. Some of them were my demos. Andy did the drum solos. Then I got Rob to do the bass. Then I went and did the rhythm guitar to them all. I went and did the vocals to them all. Callum was right in the midst of the Canada trip, so we just weren't really bothering you, Callum, but you were aware of everything that was going on, but it was just kind of like, let you get to it, because there's not a rush for the leads, so why fucking weigh you down? Because it was a couple of weeks of work, So we've got these songs there, and we've had 2 or 3 kind of video chats about what ones we love, what ones are okay, but we all know from our past in the band that the demos that we're listening to now, if they're kind of here in our estimations, we know they always go up. So the ones that we love now, we know they're going to be fucking bangers. And the ones that we're not sure about, we know they're going to be great songs anyway. And sometimes when you get in the studio, they turn into the best ones. So another wee kind of insight to people listening at home is we've had a couple of Skype calls with Neil Kennedy, who's an amazing producer from down south, works at the ranch. He's recorded some great bands, most notably Creeper and Boston Manor. He also did our friends Allburn a good few years ago. We've had some great success in terms of working relationships with Bruce Tool and doing stuff here. We literally just wanted to try something different, because how the fuck do you know what's going to change if you don't challenge yourself? And we've always wanted to do a wee residential style thing. So yeah, we've been speaking with Neil. He's super excited to work with us, which is important to us as well. It's not just a kind of job. He's been given a lot of input into it. Wants to come to Scotland to do pre-production, and then we want to plan in to go and do this residential stuff. So I guess a general question, there's no real fucking, like, I've got nothing written down for this segment. It's just the end of the conversation as a whole. But what's your guys' kind of, again, we're not putting any pressure on when this is going to happen, Callum, because A, you can do this remotely. B, we've talked about if we nail down a time, you can come over. But what's everyone's thoughts on kind of the future and the next album and just general things flying about the head? Because this year's obviously been fucked up for everyone, let alone like a band who's used to, if we're not doing this shit, we're inactive and stuff like that. Like, what's the kind of vibes you've got?
Yeah, I think for me, man, like, you know, this year's been a bit of a write-off in terms of, you know, the public kind of face of We Came From Wolves, but behind the scenes, you know, there's been shitloads going on. And, you know, the whole purpose of doing these videos isn't, you know, to say this is the obituary of We Came From Wolves, this is it done. You know, this is only the start, really, isn't it? Even though, you know, we're coming up to like a 10th anniversary, man, you know, we're just getting started as a band. There's so much, you know, exciting stuff going on behind the scenes that we really can't wait to share. The only kind of question mark we've got on it is timescale. You know, 2020's pretty much been written off. 2021, you know, when are things going to get back to normal? Is it going to be Easter? Is it going to be the summer? Is it going to be after that?
And we don't want to rush anything. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. We don't want to say, right, we're back to it, so we do it by March. Not a chance.
Yeah. But the whole concept of like planning is just gone.
That's it. Definitely. You know, this year has shown that any plans you've got, just rip them up right now and don't make a fool of yourself by revealing them, because they're out the window. And, you know, for me personally, like, this band's going nowhere. You know, we've got time on our hands. You know, we're still young guys. We're still as passionate as
some of us are young.
All right, I'm definitely. I'm just gonna shave the beard off and go back to the emo fringe and look like I was about 12
again. I can't
even
see a beard anymore, Rob. I've got more of a beard than you now, son.
I know. I had to shave it off. It's looking pretty shorn. Shaun of the Dead. But basically what I'm trying to say is, fucking, we are 100% committed to this band. Like, you know, more committed than we've ever been. And this period of inactivity has only kind of stoked the fires. It's only made the desire to make music and tour and record and play shows like even greater. You know, there's so much unfinished business in this lineup. And I'm just you know, I'm like a coiled spring to coin a Robseyism. I'm just
totally.
So much pent up energy, just cannot wait to get out there. Sorry, man.
That kind of, it lines up with something that Andy reminded me of when we took a little break in the middle of the call. Just that me and Rob have only done 2 shows together.
Yeah, which is fucking mental, man.
That is wild to me. I can't believe it. Like, in a way, I feel like you were there on that whole European tour that I was on.
Yeah, I do as well.
I mean, I really loved getting to know Taylor. Like, that was a great time. I think the dynamic on that tour was amazing. But I just, at the same time, feel like you were there the whole time. And whenever we spent time together outside of that, it's felt as if we've had, like, years worth of hanging out to lay the foundation for it. I don't know. Like, again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm not interested in where this band is capable of going in a sort of musical, commercial, successful sense, but like I'm in it for you guys in a lot of ways. Like, if if this was just a band of like good musicians, when I moved to Canada, I probably would have just left because it made logistical sense. But you guys are close friends of mine, and I'm not going anywhere. So
no, mate, I agree with. I think like a good few years ago, that might have been hearing that might have been some sort of like attack to me because of how ambitious I was. But ambition changed for me. It's like ambition changed because it was like I didn't measure achievements as success. Achievements are like bonuses and they're great pillars, and they also change, and achievements can mean different things. Achievements could mean the four of us getting to play a tour and record an album again, even though we went through a pandemic and you moved to Canada. Like, that would be a fucking achievement. It's not being on fucking, getting signed or fucking, getting on paying to support this band or that. So yeah, my mind changed, and we spoke about before we went on this call tonight some of my favorite bands, and there's no shock that like I'm mid-30 now and this is how I feel. Of course that's how it goes, and of course it's because we've not blown up. But if we'd blown up, would we have blown up playing the music that I wasn't that passionate about? Or would we have blown up doing the stuff I love? Because the stuff I love right now, I wouldn't go backwards now, even if we would blow up. Well, that's a lie. That's a lie. Let's be honest. Like, we've talked about McFly. I'd play McFly tunes to be able to do that every day and get paid. But let's be honest. Like, what would I be happy with?
That's the first time I've heard the McFly name dropped in about 6-7 years, maybe.
That used to be like what me and Eggy and that would talk about. Would be like, you can't really diss them because if you would just play that kind of shit and get paid every day, like, it's better than an office job. Of course.
Hey, their melodies are fucking class.
Oh, of course they are. But you know what I mean by that analogy. You know what I mean by that.
For sure, yeah.
But in terms of like what I'm happy with, would I be happier moving back the way song-wise? No, not at all.
Yeah.
So for me, it is all about just the people that are in it, the things that we do having quality, and just having like this self-pride about what we do. And that's not about like quantity of shows and tours and albums. It's definitely about quality.
Yeah.
And
none of that's to say like I don't see that level of drive in myself or in the band, or that level of success in the future of myself or in the band, but it's just not why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm. Like, no, exactly.
Like, it makes absolutely no sense to move to Canada and still be part of a band. That's based in 3 different cities in Scotland. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah. But we're all here. Like, we all want to be here. So
yeah. I mean, like, I probably said this to you before, Callum, but I've spoken to Kyle about this many times. Like, I've almost, like, I'm sure some people might know this, but I've almost left the band two times, maybe 3 times, and that's just down.
Don't remind me. I'm gonna get upset.
But like, after speaking things through with Kyle, he's been, listen, man, we get where everyone heads at, where you want to be in life, where you want to successfully, what you want to do. At the end of the day, look at it as like, what do you enjoy doing? Who are your pals? What are your what gets you excited? And then you start breaking things down. You're like, yeah, you're totally right. At the end of the day, all you're doing is you're fucking having a good time with some of your best friends, playing music. And none of us are doing this to fucking make a buck or to do anything to get your name on the scene. We're doing it because we fucking enjoy it. And at the end of the day, like, there's nothing more special than that, is there? You know what I mean? It's
100%, man.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Having that track, like, we write, I mean, it's been so long. Like, I actually said this to a mate, like, this lockdown's been hard on loads of people in on everyone, but in different ways and different strengths of how hard it's been. But I realized recently that like my release used to be like in every version of this band, whether I was traveling through to Perth every Friday night with the White Brothers and coming home, obviously with the first version I stayed in Perth, and then coming home not on a Sunday, or like with Brian and Mackay and coming to Andy's place and then coming back, or with this final lineup, kind of mixing it up between the two. it used to be like, that's what I do at a weekend. That's all my weekend spent, and it's like I'm doing that. And sometimes rehearsal would feel like a bit of a chore. Sometimes you'd love it. Sometimes it was a chore. That's the same as football training. Anything you put loads of time into, but when you're not got it, you're like, fuck me, man. Like, how blessed was I that I would go and spend 4 to 6 to 8 sometimes hours just jamming with mates, having fucking banter that was all working towards getting in a room, entertaining people, travelling in a van, listening to tunes. I actually look back to like, oh, we've got a fucking 8-hour drive today, 12-hour drive to Prague. But what are we doing in that 12 hours? We're listening to the fucking tunes on Spotify and our playlists. We're laughing, we're stopping at service stations, we're eating food, we're having some beers, we're loading into a new place, we're playing, we're making great new friends, we're staying in a beautiful place, we're doing it all again. That is fucking, if I died and went to heaven, that's what I hope heaven is. And I'm not trying to be poetic here.
Agreed.
I'm not being poetic here. I promise anyone who's listening right now, heaven to me isn't like floating on clouds and eating the best food and being in this warm pool of water, whatever. It's this fucking being on the road, listening to tunes, playing. Yeah. Obviously, I told like my family and my wife and that could come to the shows in heaven. Do you know what I mean? Like, not just the boys all the time. But that is, honestly, that is the happiest I've been in my life, is doing that. And I'm very thankful to have been able to do that for most of, when I actually look back now, probably most of my life.
But the difficult thing to explain to people is like, people hear like, oh, you're in a van for 8 hours, cooped up, just seeing the same people. But it's like, no, you're with your brothers, you're in a gang.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Imagine like the camaraderie, like how you can't even explain like how good it is. It doesn't feel like you're in a van for 8 hours or for 2 weeks cooped up. You're just having the best time constantly, 24 hours a day. You're not. You never get sick of each other. There's so much like shit banter that if you said to somebody like, we were just whistling theme tunes for game shows for the 80s, people will be like, that sounds shit. But when you're in that bubble, it's like the best experience ever. You can't, if you've not been there, it's like, without sounding a bit weird, it's maybe like akin to people who've like been in the army and been to like war and stuff like that.
I was just about to say that, man. I listened to a lot of podcasts about ancient civilizations and things like that, but they also move on to like a lot of like not only PTSD, which I know Andy you're familiar with through your brother, who's served for his country and that, and we all give so much respect to that. But like PTSD is just one part of it. It's obviously the fucking horrible, like really tough part, but there's other part of it where guys just have depression. And the reason why it is, now, not for a second am I comparing, like, I've got a brother-in-law, who I love to bits, who's been at war as well. And I'm not glorifying war either, by the way. I'm not talking about politics here, if I agree why people should have gone or shouldn't have gone, but, like, that's besides the point. They're people we love who have been there. Like, that doesn't matter if we agree why they're there or not. Who cares about that? We'll discuss that with them. But the camaraderie they had of being there every day, working for each other, like loving each other. They love each other. They're brothers. They're there to make sure that they are fucking okay. And then they come home, and of course they love their family and their wife and their kids, whoever's there. But that connection that was there with a fucking squadron of 30 people is gone. And they're the only man in their lives now. It's them, their wife, their kids. And they're expected to just be sound with that. Now, that's no offence to their wife or their kids or that, but how the fuck is that going to be okay? They've built up these strong relationships. We're hunter-gatherer animals who have grown over the millennia of going out and hunting together. What is war? What is touring? What is sports? It's being with fucking brothers, achieving something together. And there's no fucking shock that the highs of that come with a fucking low when you're not together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, 100%, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back. Get me back on fucking tour, boys. I'm telling you. Fucking just put a fucking bass in my hand, man, or a steering wheel in my hand, and I'll fucking do it for the rest of my days.
Fucking
100%.
Yeah, but even though you weren't there on that European tour, that one show we did play with the 4 of us in Glasgow was fucking tits, man. That was such a good show. Wasn't that class? I think like the support bands, Kyle, were the laddies from your football team who were insane. They were so good, man. There was a 3-piece. The singer, I'm sure, was in your football team.
Yeah, they were a good band.
Yeah, he had a really fucking good.
It's like Empire of the Sun or something. If I just made that up, there was like some. I'm actually quite good at remembering that stuff.
Where was this?
This was in Glasgow.
Was it Sleazy's or Broadcast? One of the two. I always get those two mixed up.
Oh, sorry, no, that was.
Yeah,
it was my mate.
A big dude.
Yeah, it was my mate Barry. I fucking forgot. It was Everyday
Pharaohs and Fashioned by Fire.
Yes, Fashioned by Fire.
That's it.
Oh, they were class. Barry's such a good vocalist.
What a show, though, by the way, because like that, the crowd was packed, man, as well. But I think we announced that as like one of our last shows for a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people turned up. Lots of our own personal friends, and obviously our communal friends as well. And it was just such a fucking good turnout. It was class. It was fucking incredible.
You know, that was a big moment for me because that was the first time I played a show in Glasgow in 6 or 7 years, I think.
Oh shit! Really?
I hadn't played Glasgow since 2012, and I played the Captain's Rest, which is now ancient history.
Oh, what a venue that was, man! So many good memories of that.
Yeah, so that
is that called something else now? Is it called something else? Is that called something else now, or is it?
No, it's like is it not a restaurant or something now?
That's changed hands. Turned into Monroe's. I think it's now like a sort of bar restaurant in a place.
Where is it?
It's in the west end of Glasgow, on Great Western Road. Yeah,
right.
I used to live like a few doors down from it. Unfortunately, after it had sort of demised as a music venue.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. I mean, a lot of this is why I moved to Glasgow from Aberdeen in the first place.
Music.
But I mean, it was so strange that I felt like I was sort of involved in the Glasgow music scene, and then when we played that show, I realised I hadn't played any Glasgow venues in years. It was a really good feeling. Like I'd been in broadcast more times than I can remember, either for shows or for club nights or whatever. Yeah. But loading in through the back door and setting up on the stage was a really good feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I really like those kind of small venues because they're super intimate with like their low ceilings and like little pillars in the way, and I think everyone's just like shoulder to shoulder, so you really feel like you're playing to a full room. Well, of course you are, especially that night because it really was it was a packed venue.
Yeah.
You can't hide in those venues as well, can you, man? It's not like you've got like a huge sound system or a massive stage or that. It's just like it's so intimate. It's like, right, this is what being in a band is all about. A small venue, fucking a packed room, a sweat box, like watts and all. Everyone can see everything you do, every mistake you make. It's like, this is what being in a band is all about, man.
Yeah, and you know what I will say as well is that at that show, Brian came along.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a very cool move. Like, I'd only really known Brian as this like mythical presence of like he wrote all the guitar parts that I was playing on stage throughout Europe for a couple of weeks, and I'd never met the guy, but I really I admired his guitar parts. Like he's a good guitarist, and
it's fantastic. You guys are actually getting on really well. Like,
the parts he wrote were fun to play, and I really appreciated that he showed up, and I got to meet the guy, and it showed like a lot of what this band's about, which I guess is what this whole podcast thing is about.
Yeah.
That no matter what's happened, everyone's kind of stayed in touch. Everyone's stayed friends. Yeah, it's been good.
And it's a band of brothers, man. You know,
that's a cool dynamic because obviously when Eggy left, Taylor's learned those parts, and he was on tour filling in for some of those parts. And then when Taylor left, he came to some rehearsals and did personal videos for Mackay to learn. And when Mackay left, Mackay did some audio tracks for Brian to do, and then blah blah blah. And then Mackay came to Edinburgh to see Brian play, and then Brian came to Glasgow to see you play. And yeah, I mean that's shit that we never asked anyone for, but they just on their own back wanted to support. And I guess we must have just whether it's luck or whether it's not credit to us because it's credit to the people themselves, but whether it's just like, good people attract good people. We've talked about that on tour. And whether, people left for whatever reasons they wanted to leave, there's no been hard feelings there. Like, respect those reasons. But it seems that there's been a mutual respect at all times by whoever's passed the torch. 100%. They've wanted to support the next person,
Yeah, and I'm sure you've felt the weight of that, Andy, actually coming into the band, playing parts that were written by a previous member. Yeah. Like, it's kind of weird, but...
You know what? Especially, like, when I joined... The boys had just released the album. Maybe not just released. Okay. It was like a few months old, and you guys won the award, the SAMA award. What was it called?
Yeah, Scottish Alternative Music Award, man. And we didn't really talk about that, did we, on the last couple of things? But that was, shout out to Richie, man. What a legend he is. That was
basically the best band ever in Scotland. So
yeah, Biffy, go fuck yourselves. You know what I mean? It's all about the rules, man.
Listen, I didn't vote. I'm just saying what the people said.
Yeah, so it was really strange, like coming into like a very fresh album which had just been released. All of a sudden, you're learning somebody else's songs, and you don't really get to put your input straight away, because I guess like when you're playing live, you want to play what's on the record, which I get actually touching back to the start of this video, which before you came on, Callum, when I did my audition videos, it was very much me just showing off and just doing stupid shit. Like
because you used to have like a rack tom set up with a million cymbals.
Andy was like playing bass and stuff, man.
It was literally a case of, right, I need to hit every single drum and every cymbal in this audition tape to show them I can be as loud as I want and as as technical as I want. That wasn't the case. Anyway, one of the main reasons for me wanting to join as a guest with you, Callum, as well, is like you want to write and you want to perform with incredible musicians. So I'm glad we've both, individually managed to do that, which is really special.
Yeah, I agree. But it's good fun, like learning someone else's stuff, like seeing. I mean, I am in kind of a weird position because I've managed to see I don't know, 3-4 guitarists have contributed to this band over the years, and I've played all of their songs live. It's a really strange feeling.
Yeah,
like playing stuff on stage that's not my own by any means is kind of weird for me.
Is there a previous guitarist that you found is more difficult to learn than others?
Not more difficult to learn, but definitely I can feel their different styles. It's really interesting, especially after getting to know Taylor on more of a personal level. Like, I understood that the reason he had included certain pedals or certain techniques was because he was coming from this sort of like slightly mathy, slightly post-rocky kind of background, which really appealed to me as a listener, but didn't necessarily line up with where the band was going sort of post-Taylor. So it was really interesting. Like, I feel pretty aware when I'm playing these songs that it's different eras of the band.
Yeah. I think in terms of guitarists, that was maybe a bigger thing because I don't use a lot of pedals. Like, I have a tuner and a boost pedal. So when
Two pedals in the truth, man.
Yeah, when new that's class. That's a great tagline, isn't it?
What was that?
two pedals on the truth. But whenever like a new guitarist would join, he'd be like what kind of effects and stuff. And I remember you asking me that, Callum, and I was like,
"Yep,
I don't have a fucking clue, mate. Just make it sound good." Do you know what I mean? But I would always it might sound embarrassing to some people, but I'm very clear about like this kind of sounds. I'll mouth them to you. Like, these are the textures, these are the sounds I want, but I have no idea how you achieve that. So I guess different guitarists would be like, I'll figure it out myself then.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's what happened, didn't it, man? Like, you would you would kind of be the ideas man, Karen. I would kind of be like the kind of
technical.
The technical guy, yeah. I would like this is what I think he's trying to achieve, but you always had these like high level ideas, and it was like this is how you want it to sound, and it was like such an incredible vision, and it was kind of up to me to be like that. Right, this is what you need to do to kind of channel that. And sorry to cut you off there, Callum, man. Yeah, it's fucking. It's mad, isn't it? How it all comes together. It's so crazy. Like how everyone's got different kind of specialisms, different backgrounds.
I remember even being when we did that I think maybe 2 practices before we went on tour after I joined the band, and Taylor came along. We were in the studio.
It was a long one, wasn't it? We were in lo-fi for like fucking 8 hours of that on a Sunday.
Yeah, and I was playing.
I remember, sorry, button again. We were there for 4 hours, weren't we? And then it was like, should we go another 2? And and we went to the desk and said, can we have another 2? And then we went, can we have another 2? And we just went and get coffees and just were there for like 8 hours.
Yeah, but I was playing Taylor's guitar parts back to him. That was the weirdest feeling. He was in the room. He had written these parts, and I was asking him like, because pedals just interfere with stuff sometimes. So it was really fascinating to learn like what's your style versus what did the pedals do for you. And then I remember when we played our first show on that tour in Balcombe, south of London.
Yes.
One of the best venues I've ever played. Loved it. But I remember after that night, you, Kyle, said like that was fucking amazing, but something about your pedals just sounded like, I don't know what it was, maybe like too processed or too artificial or too fake. And I knew exactly what you meant, and I fixed it. And I feel like the rest of the tour was more like in harmony with the way it was supposed to sound. But it's just strange kind of figuring that out on the fly.
Thank fuck you knew what I meant. But listen, I never really appreciated that. That's the great thing about these conversations, and I think Rob would echo that we've had a lot of these, and it's like wee moments that from different people, different insights, and I'm really glad we've done these. But like, I never appreciated how tricky or weird that would have been for you. Obviously, that's a credit to no one else but you and Taylor, both of you, mentality, because Taylor could have been sitting there going, yeah, I'll come and help you on tour, but to be honest, like I know 80% of the guitar tracks. If I'm going to do this, I think Callum should just learn the bass since she's learning everything new.
I know, right?
And
made a lot more sense.
I'll learn 4 fucking guitar tracks.
I never thought of that.
But Taylor can't grow a beard, so he can't really play the bass, can he?
But not only that, Taylor obviously was going, well, this is who they've got in his guitar now, so I'm not going to even suggest that because I'm being asked to come in and fill in. I'm not being asked to come in and step on anyone's toes. And I think, for you not to feel any sort of, any sort of weirdness about that, and for Taylor not even ever to suggest that was anything awkward, I think, credit, really, I mean, I'll give you credit all day long, Callum, because I love you to bits. I love everyone to bits that's been in this band, but really, Taylor, that's fucking massive respect to Taylor. Just be like, I'll come in and step in and play bass. I'll also teach Callum loads of my parts and not have any worries about that.
But I
what a legend, man.
I'd learned one of the songs, I think it was Butterflies. I had learned it purely from audio. There was no trace of any videos or tabs or anything from anyone. So I just kind of learned it from Spotify. And I played it in front of Taylor. And I asked him, like, is this the way I'm supposed to play it? And he was like, I don't know. It sounds good enough.
That is Taylor in a nutshell.
And that's the way I operate as a guitarist. So I really appreciated that he was just like, well, who gives a shit? It sounds good enough. So.
Exactly.
Fucking A.
Does it work? Yes. Don't fuck with it.
Yeah.
Nah, that's fucking class. Well, boys, I could fucking chat forever, and I've said spoiler alert about 18 times here, but spoiler alert, we probably will chat a wee bit more after I stop recording this. But
your album drops next week.
Oh no!
We've still got a quarter of a bucket.
I think there's some gold happening here, but we got to keep this concise. But I guess the main fucking thing of all of this was everyone who's been in this band has been a fucking gem and helped make everything of what it is. And at this moment in time, it may seem that we're not doing a lot, but we are working just as hard as we ever were behind the scenes, and we're going to make this work, whether Callum records internationally, remotely, or whether we make some time for him to come back. Who knows when we're going to play? There's been people, believe it or not, messaging us, and I really appreciate it. I'm not taking the piss here. I've not replied to you yet because, come on, guys, I don't know when the fuck we're going to play again, and I'm sorry, I don't know if we can play with your band because who the fuck knows when our venue's open. But we'll let people know when things are happening. But first and foremost for us, there's not gigs on the agenda. It's making the record of our career, and we're very serious about that. We talked about how emotional these last songs were. I'm not coming up to just show up. I am not going to put my fucking voice. I'm too old in the game now. I'm not putting my voice to something that doesn't mean the absolute world to me times 12 to 15. That's got to be how it is. It won't only come out. Every single song will be a seminal tune. It cannot be anything but that, or what the fuck is the point after waiting 2, 3, 4 years? So yes.
6, 7 years, man.
Yeah, it will happen. It will happen. So Callum and Andy, as I said, other than me and Rob, you're the longest running members in this band. And I think I didn't realise that.
It's a privilege.
I didn't realise that until I looked at the numbers, but I felt that. You know what I mean? I did feel that.
Yeah.
And I just thought I felt that because you were the natural fit. Like, in terms of, like, Eggy's my best man. Chick is my big brother. The White Brothers were amazing. Brian and Mackay were class. But in terms of musical connection, the four of us always felt like that to me. And you guys might have thought that's just what I would say to everybody, but I think that's represented now in the fact that, well, we've been together the longest. Might not be the most releases, but we've written more songs than any other band, any other member lineup of this band. They've just not been released. And we need to remember that, the four of us as well, not caring who's maybe watching this at this moment in time. We've put in the work, it's just not seen the light of day yet. So, yeah, we've got work to do, but it'll fucking come out. So, from me, thanks so much. And as you touched upon earlier, Andy, you've thought about leaving before, and it certainly wasn't me begging you.
I was begging. I'll admit that now.
We've got those Mankini picks, man.
Please don't leave.
What I was going to say is, like, I'd happily beg you because how amazing you've been for us, but it wasn't about that. It's never about that. And Callum, same with you moving to Canada, it's just been like, guys, we could start over this again, but it's not going to be the same. Like, what we've got is pretty special. So
Agreed.
I'd like to thank both of you both for trusting in what we've got here. And Rob, you've been in every single chat here, and I've not given really you your credence, man. Like, you're massive in this band. If you hadn't been there, not just as like someone there with me, but in terms of, like I said, your knowledge when I want to bounce things off you, your counsel when I want to ask your opinion on ideas, and your professionalism in terms of when we're on tour, when we're recording, when we're writing. It can't be overstated in this band. If you had left at any point, this wouldn't still be going. So to the three of yous and to our current lineup, I salute you and thank you all. And here's to the better days to come.
Boys, I love you all.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the future.
Cheers. Right, boys. I'll see you soon.
See you soon, boys.
Alone myself close.